All right, really exciting news for all penis-possessing listeners of the 716 Sports Podcast that we are proud to let you all know that we are sponsored by Manscaped. Manscaped, taking care of you, your business, just launching internationally. I know we got some international listeners. Bill's Mafia is a worldwide phenomenon. If you're over in the UK, they just launched over there as well. We are excited to share with you that you can get 20% off, get free shipping by using our code 716 Sports, but we'll get back to that in a second. Guys, it's just something everyone has to do. You have to take care of yourself. You have to trim. And what better way to make sure that you do it properly than with the Lawnmower 3.0? I got one just recently. It is as advertised. It is engineered specifically to take care of your hair down there. Just improved every time. It's the 3.0. This isn't the first iteration. This isn't some rookie move. This is Josh Allen 2020. This isn't Josh Allen 2018 taking care of your balls. This is exactly what you want in the pocket, dropping back and slinging the balls down the field. Cutting edge technology, waterproof technology, and an LED light that illuminates grooming areas for a closer and more precise shave. It's a 7,000 RPM motor, which sounds kind of ridiculous, but I have been told by top scientists that that is in fact true. And let's not forget, of course, the charging stand. Show it off loud and proud, because this intelligently designed stand is a convenient charging dock powered by USB technology. And they haven't come out with USB-C yet, because clearly USB forever, the top charging technology. Let's make sure that everyone who listens here to this podcast is treating themselves, treating their body the best way possible. Use our code 716sports, manscaped.com at checkout. 20% off and free shipping on your order.
The Bills Mafia strikes again. No, I don't mean jumping through tables despite winning the divisional round. No, I don't mean drunken squirting of ketchup and mustard. As we speak, Lamar Jackson's favorite charity, Blessings and Backpacks, has raised like $300,000. They're hoping for $500,000. Certainly tied to the game, right? Lamar Jackson goes down with an injury, and at that point you have to reserve yourself from being happy because you never want someone to be hurt, but it certainly felt like that was going to be the ball game with Lamar headed to the locker room with a concussion. But take a bow, Bills Mafia, once again allowing your true colors to show by donating to a charity. Someone found out what charities Lamar had worked with, what his favorite charity was. So a celebration on top of a celebration. The Buffalo Bills beating the Ravens convincingly 17-3. Not a huge offensive outpouring, but speaking of outpouring, what a great outpouring of support for an amazing charity on behalf of Lamar Jackson. Good job, Bills Mafia. Welcome to Victory 716 Sports Podcast, brought to you by Manscaped. Head to manscaped.com. Use code 716 Sports for 20% off your order and free shipping. Boys, how you feeling after that game?
Can I tell you how I'm feeling
Yeah.
after using some Manscaped products real quick?
Yeah, go for it. Testimonial time.
I've tested out the ball deodorant and the ball toner.
Mm-hmm.
Game changers. Can I tell you?
Justin's cubes are feeling just fine.
Can I tell you, game changer. I work in a warehouse, and the ball deodorant was key. Sorry, I just thought I had to get this in. I thought it was a good segue to this. I was like, which was not planned at all.
Yeah, you know, charity.
How you feeling? My balls are great.
The Bills won a playoff game.
My balls are great.
Just thought I'd share that.
See, my feet are feeling great because of Manscaped. I got the foot duster and sprayed it on my feet, and they feel great.
Wow.
Freshened up and...
That's all. Carry on.
I don't know if I would call it convincing, and maybe you guys can tell me that I'm wrong.
Yeah, no.
It's a game that
You
was
give him
decided
3 points.
ultimately by 10 seconds of glory by Taron Johnson.
Yes,
And
and
that play was 1 yard away from being a tie game at 10 instead. And I don't know how long it took him to run 101 yards, but
Faster
it felt
than I
like
could do it.
it felt like a moment that lasted a lifetime, really.
a lot of that sound was made.
The second that you realize that he's going to undercut Mark Andrews, and maybe this is just me. My first thought was, dude, just get the hell down, sit down in the end zone. Don't try to be the hero. Anytime any guy intercepts the ball in the end zone like that, just take the touchback. We'll take the ball. We're up a touchdown. And then as quickly as you can get those words out of your mouth, as quickly as I got them out of my mouth watching that in real time, you realize that he's past the 30-yard line. You realize he's past midfield. And you see Lamar, and you're like, well, if there's any guy who can pull a DK Metcalf in this situation, it's the quarterback. And then the joy when you see Trey White come into the frame between Taron Johnson and Lamar Jackson, and you realize that this is really going to happen.
Dude, Trey shot out of a cannon. I don't think I've ever seen him move that fast. Shot out of a cannon.
How about Justin Zimmer?
Keeping up with Lamar Jackson.
Mobile.
He was hauling.
Justin Zimmer hit 19.8 miles per hour, the second fastest time, second fastest speed of a defensive lineman all season, second to Aaron Donald.
Wow.
That was pure downhill momentum. Let's be honest.
That was just pure momentum and all sorts of adrenaline.
An adrenaline rush.
Zimmer, who's known, of course, on top of that for his other huge effort play, which is the game-winning play, tracking down Cam Newton. So that dude has clearly shown that he can move.
Yeah. And Taron Johnson also has another big play this season because he's the one that made the pick six against Pittsburgh that turned the tide in that game.
And so I'm with Jeff on this one. Up until that pick six, that was the beehole clenching game. The entire time, it was tense. It wasn't any sort of like roller coaster for me, more so that it was just like an entirety of misery where I'm just like, come on, guys, don't do this to me. I wasn't feeling doom and gloom about anything, but the whole time, the word tense is all I could think about. Like, that was the emotion, that was the feeling. And then they score coming out of the halftime again. They are one of the best teams at this. And then
they are now.
Not even that they are now. Even in their third quarter struggles from before the bye week, they were still very good at scoring on the first possession that they had in the third quarter. They were very good at it, and they did it again. And that is where you go ahead and think, okay, let's open it up a little bit. Then Baltimore's marching down the field, and you're just like, all right, so we're probably going to have a tie game going into the fourth quarter. Clench your beeholes, ladies and gents. We're going to have ourselves a long night. And then Johnson steps in front of it. And I was not thinking that way, Jeff, when Taron Johnson picked that. I thought the first thing was he gets to the 15, and my first question is, okay, where's Lamar?
Yeah.
That's it. Like, I knew he was going to be there. It was a question of where. He actually took a really good angle on that, too.
Yeah, he tracked that play perfectly.
He was going to make the tackle, and Trey White shows up.
There's only two guys, I think, on that Baltimore offense that could have made that play. Marquise Brown and Lamar Jackson. Yeah. I don't think they had... I think one of the things is that Baltimore really doesn't have that much speed on the team speed that maybe it was... He thought, okay, maybe this is a better play to see what he can get out of it instead of taking the automatic touchback.
I thought at about the 5-yard line he had a chance to go because there was so much green in front of him. Did you guys see what happened with Marquise Brown?
Huh.
Hollywood Brown got blocked by Jordan Poyer on a beautiful block.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Poyer, he was
out of it right away.
As soon as Taron Johnson made the pick, Poyer positioned himself to block Hollywood.
It took me about to the 15-yard line to realize what the hell was going on. Because the pick was kind of in a crowd of people, and I was like, what happened? And then all of a sudden, Taron Johnson's running. Oh, shit, he's got it! And then I started losing my shit.
Yeah, like I had mentally almost...
I was just stunned that play.
Yeah, not to be a defeatist, but like you mentioned, Derek, you're ready for this. Like, okay, they're going to score. This is a ball game. I'd almost mentally moved that touchdown into the scoring for Baltimore. I'm like, okay, it's going to be 10-10. How does the offense respond again? And, I mean, really, it maybe didn't feel like it quite at the time he caught the ball, but the second that Taron Johnson crossed the end zone, it really felt like that game was over. It felt like all the wind was out of Baltimore's sails. It's only a 2-score game for sure with a lot of time left, but a team that you're all pro future Hall of Fame kicker.
It was
can't
also
kick in the wind.
14-point swing. They hadn't scored a touchdown all day. And I was still of the thought of, okay, you can hold them to a field goal here. There's still some chances to still hold on to the lead. I'm not going to expect that they force a field goal here, but they could still do it. Like everything's been going fine, and that play was the highlight of a defensive spectacle. I'm pretty sure that Leslie Frazier's interview with the Houston Texans was he played that game.
Yeah, the interview now is.
It was a masterclass. It was a masterclass on how to defend Lamar Jackson.
Does he want the job, though?
Well, don't forget.
Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Don't forget last season when they played, they pretty much
Steve brought that up.
Baltimore in check too. So
yeah.
I was listening back.
Lamar had 40 yards rushing and 154 yards passing.
I was listening back to that pod last week, and I remember that you had brought that up, and this was something else. Like, they may have totaled more offensive yardage. It was just you could not believe the way that they frustrated him. They were sacking him. They were getting to him. There was constant pressure.
52% of plays resulted in defensive pressure by the Bills.
And not to
Half
mention
the plays.
the injury, which, yes, that sparked a very good moment from Bills Mafia, but you hate to see that sort of play happen. I was of the thought that if Lamar didn't have that happen to him, the concussion, say the play happened and everything and he just didn't get hurt, I thought they were going to get the safety with him. I think they broke him that game. After the pick six, they broke him. And
I said to Justin today, I don't think Lamar playing the rest of that game changes the score at all.
I think it changes it negatively for Baltimore.
Yeah.
I think it becomes a 3-score game somewhere. And it really was, again, like I said, a masterclass. That's the word I'm using for this, because Leslie Frazier earned himself some looks again for a head coaching position. And granted, I don't want to go near the toxic situations that are the Texans or Eagles, but if he wants it, he wants to give it another shot, go for it. But he put himself into some serious conversations again.
Yeah. And you talk about that play being a defining moment in a true defensive spectacle that it was. I don't mean to be hyperbolic. I legitimately cannot think of a more important play that has happened by any Bills player in any football game in at least 20 years. That is the play of the millennium for the Buffalo Bills at this point.
How about the play prior to set up that play? Jerry Hughes made an insane play on Lamar Jackson to let him get the pass off to the wide open guy in the end zone, which the next play was the interception.
Right. There were two players there and only one Buffalo Bill, Micah Hyde.
Game of his career. Can we say that?
Was
Unbelievable.
I remember saying before the game that Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison were going to be huge for this one. And they showed a lot of discipline, dealing with the read option, and the Bills really were fantastic all around. You couldn't find a player to nitpick in that game. Levi Wallace started strong, and I just, again, was just like, I don't want any slander. Never
Another
want to hear it
defensive
again.
shout out as well.
Josh Norman played well, too.
Norman? I was thinking about Matt Milano. Matt Milano's role in taking Andrews out of some plays. We talked about it with Levi Wallace. I know this team is also undefeated with Matt Milano in the lineup. All those games they lost in that middle section of the season, there was no Matt Milano. And he's going to be, we're a far point away from talking about next week's game at this point still, but you want to play Travis Kelce? Man, am I glad that I have Matt Milano out there for this game on
And
Sunday.
Tremaine Edmonds was doing fine. Again, there were so many highlights. Josh Norman forced a fumble that, granted, it was recovered by the Ravens, but you know that he's making those plays and he's trying to make sure that the team remembers, hey, if there's opportunity, find that opportunity, make that opportunity. And again, it was an all-around defensive spectacle, a masterclass that you could never see. And the one time the offense is having a down game, you go ahead and look and go, they're fine. They won by 14.
You know, this is
Didn't even snow.
You know, this is the first time all season that the Bills did not have 20 first downs in the game.
Wow.
The first time the Bills actually had themselves like probably the toughest challenge, and they win by 14. None of us would have thought that going into the playoffs. I was the one saying over and over again, they're going to go as far as Josh Allen takes them. And Allen was fine.
He was fine.
There was no smooth brain moment from him in this one.
No.
The Indy game, you had a scare with that sack. There was nothing of the sort here.
And can I talk about Lamar? He didn't play terribly, but that throw to Taron Johnson was awful. And it was the throw to Taron Johnson.
he just
The
didn't see
only
him at
player
all.
there was Taron Johnson.
He didn't see him.
And the first time that the snap went over his head, he was able to scoop, scramble, and throw it away and make it a 0 play instead of a negative play. The second time, I know it's you got to fall on the ball because when you scoop, I know it wasn't a dirty hit, and I know he ended up hurt, and I feel bad about that. It wasn't a dirty hit, but that is the risk you take when you scoop up the ball. That went from, like I said, the first time he turned it into a 0 play instead of a negative play. The second time, it was all kinds of negatives. You took an intentional grounding from the 2, which means you should have just taken the sack.
2 yards away
should
from
have
a
just fell
safety.
on the ball. Also got hurt. The Bills could have picked that off. That was just a floater to no one. And that ended up being, I won't say the game-defining moment because the Taron Johnson pick was the game-defining moment. But it could have, that play, if he falls on that ball, sure, it's 3rd and 35, but it was 3rd and 35 anyway, and he was broken. So
Yeah, that's where I
you
think
talk about
that-
the smooth brain moment. Fall on the ball. Just fall on it.
That's where I still would say they broke him after that pick six. Like they mentally broke him, and then you're desperate. That's what that play screamed desperation.
you could see his face after the pick 6. My wife always used to say the EJ face, like he looked like, how did that just happen? Like the confused, play, and that's kind of looked like what Lamar had on his face, just like a look of disbelief that it happened. So, but kudos to Jerry Hughes. I want to just give another shout out to. We saw him do this against the Seahawks, and I remember on the Jordan Poyer pick in the end zone, Hughes shuttered off his block, and Russell Wilson rolled right. And instead of pursuing it all, Hughes just stood there and dared Russell Wilson to try to run. And what that did was it contained Russell Wilson. He couldn't run because Hughes was just capping off any opportunity for him to scramble. And he throws up a prayer and has to throw it over Jerry Hughes, and Jordan Poyer picked it off. And we saw Hughes time and time again get in the backfield and stop pursuing, because when you chase Lamar and he beats you, you look stupid and there's no play to be made. And he just stood in the backfield and contained him. That's the name of the game, is containing a quarterback like that. And the Bills wrote a textbook on it.
I think I can think of only one time where the defense actually lost contain on the play. I saw Addison kind of do something weird, but for the most part, it was contained. Like you said, Hughes wasn't chasing. Justin noticed at one point during the game that Hughes wasn't chasing. He was just staying backside, not being too aggressive, and containing the backside. So just to keep funneling the play. I mean, that's how you beat a mobile quarterback. And even one of the plays where Lamar was bouncing around the pocket, he couldn't get outside because that contain was there, and it was good. It was disciplined.
I mean, Jerry Hughes is playing like a guy who's waited his entire career for this moment, because he has. He's been waiting his entire career to be able to be a focal point of a defense that's playing for a chance to play in the Super Bowl. And he has not wasted a single snap.
He's playing like a team player too. When he has the opportunity to go and get his and get his sacks, get his numbers, he's just standing there waiting for the guy to run into him instead of going to make a big play and whiffing.
How about the maturity of him over the years as a Buffalo Bill? He was one of the most maligned players with the personal fouls. But Jeff, you said something that we haven't freaking mentioned yet. They're a game away from the Super Bowl, dog. Let's get hype.
I was thinking about it all day Saturday because, and again, maybe on the younger side, I think the youngest person in the room.
You are.
But when the last time the Bills won a playoff game before this year, I was 4. So I've never really at any point in my life had to build a week around like a Bills playoff game. And I was sitting there all day, like Saturday afternoon, like, it still felt so weird, even though they had just won the week before. Like, I'm waiting all day to go and watch a Bills playoff game. And it's even more so this week. Like, we're sitting here right now, still recording Monday night, almost 6 full days from now before that football game kicks off against Kansas City.
Sunday night, the longest possible wait.
I know. And
there's some ways to go ahead and help keep yourself calm or get yourself more hype. And I think I want to just get this out of the way. I want the smoke. Give me Tom.
I've been saying that all day.
That piece of.
It's kind of scary though.
I want him.
It would be the perfect button on the season to beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, but then it looks so much worse if Tom Brady beats us.
Nope.
And then also,
smoke. Let's go.
And then also, it's in Tampa, right?
It's in Tampa.
Like, so
it's
it's
Tampa.
super home field
Be
advantage.
the first time ever a Super Bowl was hosted by a home team.
But let's be real. They're not going to beat Green Bay after the way they almost...
I don't think they will,
Rodgers
but
is
they
gonna
did
carve them up.
crush Green Bay in the regular season.
Did they?
Absolutely smoked them.
I did not know that.
Tore them apart. It was
In
not
Tampa.
even close. In Tampa, yes, but
Still,
it's not like
Tom
Lambeau's
Brady.
full of 60,000 screaming Wisconsinites.
But not that Tom Brady hasn't made a reputation of playoff games in the snow though either.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to go out there and throw 4 picks and give them 23 points.
Correct.
Yeah, no.
I mean, the Buccaneers dismantled the Saints on the back of 3 interceptions and a fumble.
Yeah.
And that will not happen, in my opinion.
they
next
should have
week.
left Jameson after he threw that bomb.
Seriously.
touchdown. I know it's not.
The exact same play that Wims dropped in the Bears game last week.
It's so
by
petty
the way.
by the Saints, and I love
The
it.
exact same play, and Wims dropped it, and the Saints scored a touchdown.
It is sad to see Drew Brees go out like that. And I know that you typically don't get to go out on top of the mountain, but to see Drew Brees go out, not able to throw the ball 20 yards down the field, turning the ball over left and right. I know Devin White played an incredible game for the Bucs yesterday, but it just looked rough.
he looked like he was struggling.
He was.
He was putting everything he had into any throw he was making. I mean, he's not the biggest of guys, but you could see everything, every fiber of his body in every throw he was making.
Yeah. And this is a guy whose career was supposed to be over 15 years ago.
Not to
so
mention,
more power to him.
Not to mention, we see. I mean, you mentioned players not going out the way that they would want to. For every Peyton Manning, you get a Drew Brees, a Ben Roethlisberger, who looked even more pathetic in the first half against Cleveland in a wild card game. At least Brees won another playoff game before on his way out here. Phillip Rivers, he had probably the best performance of all those guys in that draft class that are still playing right now, that he had the best shot at winning a playoff game of this group. And here it is. It's tough. You see players like this going out in the way that you don't want to see them go out, which is why I want the smoke so that the Bills can take Brady out.
For every Ray Bork lifting the Stanley Cup, there is Randy Moss on a PTO in Tennessee.
Exactly.
Jeff, if there goes Bills Bucks, what happens? Who are you going to root for?
Is that a real question?
I know you're a Bucks fan for some reason.
It's a passing fancy because the Bills have been so bad for so long.
Gotcha.
So I picked an NFC team, but no, it's not even a conversation.
I said ask. You're also a Flyers fan, so I don't know.
It's been a rough night on the Flyers fandom side of things, but well, it's fine. We'll get to Sabres later because they're putting on a clinic right now at Wells Fargo Center. It's 4-0.
Sometimes you get
periods.
speed bagged. That's what happens.
Did you see the Twitter video of Tom Brady and Drew Brees talking after the game?
Yeah.
And then Tom Brady just putting a cap on that convo, throwing an absolute dot to Brees' kid in the end zone. It's like, here's how you do it, Drew. Peace.
There's a lot of things you can say about Tom Brady. His arm is still pretty friggin' good. It's not the best it ever was, but that dude can throw some dots. It'll be interesting. I don't think Green Bay is going to have an easy path. I've come around to this a little bit. After the game on Sunday, I started thinking about whether or not they could actually do it. Tampa Bay's defense with Devin White healthy is a different thing. It would be interesting if you're writing a storybook of the Buffalo Bills season this year. Could you pick a better ending? Now, let's not like past Kansas City, but can you pick a better ending than beating Kansas City and then getting to play Brady in the Super Bowl? Like, you couldn't draw it up better than that for ratings purposes. It is a dream scenario for marketing in the NFL. And honestly, probably it's a dream scenario for a lot of those guys in the Buffalo locker room to get a chance at the ultimate redemption. No one's going to care that what Tom Brady did to you for 10, 15 years on the Monday after the Super Bowl if you are hosting the trophy.
All is forgiven if you beat him in the Super Bowl. The 20 years of torment that the Patriots have given you, all of it is out the window.
All I know is that I want, if it's Bills versus Bucks in Super Bowl, I want the Bills to be led to the field by Eli Manning.
Yes. Can they actually play?
Now, I will say,
forget Josh Allen. Can Eli play?
the good news
sign him
is,
David Tyree.
the good news is, Tom Brady is 0-3 against teams from an East Division in the Super Bowl.
Tom Brady is also terrible in games after 4 o'clock. He has been awful in primetime this year because he's an old man who doesn't get his early bird special and go to bed.
Well, now, I mean, Super Bowls are always going to be after that 4 o'clock. But again, he's lost to the Eagles. He's lost to the Giants twice. Those are East teams. I'm stretching for this, but
He's also never beaten an AFC team in the Super Bowl.
It's true.
So there's big facts. So
I mean, he also hasn't won an NFC Championship game, so who knows if he's going to get there at this point.
That's true.
I mean, this
He's gotta
would
break all kinds of
it
records.
would be Brady to go ahead and even add an NFC Championship to his resume.
It's a LeBron move.
But he's already won Super Bowls, so let him have his NFC Championship. I want the smoke. I want to destroy him.
It's funny because you say you want the smoke, and I might think that Aaron Rodgers is more smoke. but I
Aaron
don't-
Rodgers is probably more dangerous, but I don't care anymore. I'm back. Ready? I'm back.
Oh, I would rather
Cocky
play Tom
bitch.
Brady for multiple reasons. I also
Cocky
think
bitch
that
is
I would
back.
rather have Tom Brady across the field for me than Aaron Rodgers
Correct.
at this point.
I don't like Tampa Bay having a home field advantage in the Super Bowl. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, it's weird, and I guess I wonder how much home field it would really be. Normally, it's not really. I know it's in your stadium, but it's usually not like your regular home fans.
It's not like it's not like they're giving tickets to season ticket holders for bucks.
Yeah, it's true,
Yeah.
but I mean, people will start buying them probably.
People would start buying them, but so would everyone else.
See how expensive they are? I saw a screenshot yesterday. They're fucking expensive.
Look,
It's like $14,000 for a mid-level seat. Fuck.
Yeah, it's a luxury event at this point, which is why
I need to take
the
out a
stadium
bank loan to
doesn't-
go to the Super Bowl. God damn.
I don't own enough things or possessions or organs to go to that game, so
Yeah, I would need to take a bank loan out. Holy crap.
Second mortgage to the house.
I could sell my vehicle and still need to raise a few thousand.
So we got the Chiefs, and it was
All five
I
of
kept
us sell our
saying
vehicles
it
and
would
have
have
enough
been
money
su-
for one ticket.
It would have been
Sorry.
it would have been the perfect cap to a 2020 season to have the Bills versus the Browns in an AFC title game.
Clearly, the Browns did not deserve it if they can't contain Chad Henne on a 3rd and 18. I'm sorry. I wanted Cleveland to win. I was rooting for it because I thought it would be a great game, and I think the Bills would absolutely destroy them.
The last person that you would think would scramble for 18 yards. So you can't.
Anything is possible.
You could have asked us to
Anything.
name 50 quarterbacks that would scramble for 17 yards, and Chad Henne would not have made the list.
No, he wouldn't have.
Let's put another reference into this. A team from Ohio let him scramble for 18 yards. An Ohio State fan looks at that happen and go, "What the hell are you guys doing, Browns?"
And just to be clear, he did not get the first down.
didn't.
They then needed to lose Tyreek Hill on the next play on a dig route, which
I think
a
they
zag
thought
route.
for sure that they were not going to snap that ball. I think
Oh,
they
gosh.
were ready to not jump. They were just sitting back. And Andy Reid, maybe the only coach in the NFL who was willing to have his backup quarterback roll out on a 4th and inches that could decide the game.
I will say
Shotguns
the
with
way
your
that
backup quarterback, just testicular fortitude.
he kept lining up in an empty set too.
Yeah.
He motioned Williams into the backfield with them, but they were lining up in an empty set
Yeah,
too.
no. The other thing about it was Andy Reid going for that made a lot of sense though too, because there's the testicular fortitude, but Cleveland's offense has kind of stalled out late in that game, and the drive before when Henne gifted them an arm punt on a horrible throw, you're just like, okay, Cleveland could tie it up on that stupid play, and it's just like, oh no, Chiefs fans, not like this. You hate to see it, but then Cleveland just went ahead and just stalled out. And I'm like, they're not doing good in this game. The Chiefs defense is weird. Some days they really are up to the task. And then there's others where they're just like, okay, Mahomes is going to have to do it for us.
Well, the only way you can beat the Chiefs' defense is by aggressively passing the ball downfield, and that is not the Browns' game. The Browns' game is running and mid-level passing. Jarvis Landry couldn't get free.
Mid-level?
They didn't use Peoples-Jones
Mid-level,
at all.
Jeff?
Well,
Mid-level
okay.
passing?
Maybe usually mid-level
Yeah,
passing.
not
They were
yesterday.
dinking and dunking down the field. If even. Not even going down the
Holy
field.
shit.
Stefanski's a genius.
Sorry
on
to
offense.
cut you off, Jeff, but Jarvis Landry caught the ball 7 times. Do you know how many receiving yards he had? 21. He averaged 2.9 yards a reception.
That's actually, like, schematically, it's a really good job by the Chiefs. Knowing that
they
he's
did
going to
not
be-
throw the ball downfield. Peoples-Jones caught 1 ball. That's your guy to stretch the field. And you just said, Jeff, to beat the Chiefs, you got to air it out and you got to go deep on them. Look at their one loss was 40-32 to the Raiders in an absolute chuck haymakers. Each quarterback threw for 900 yards. That's how you beat them. And you have the Browns throwing the ball to Chubb 5 times. I think he dropped 7 of them.
He dropped
He
a
was
lot.
so bad. And then you are throwing to your weapon, Jarvis Landry, for 3 yards a catch. What are we doing? I don't care. But I was like, Mayfield did not impress me one bit by the way he played yesterday.
Prescott Bayless.
I feel like the Browns got themselves mentally
don't say
really
that
ready
curse word here.
for the Steelers game. And they were super hype and they were ready. They were ready to prove everyone wrong. And then that game happened, and I don't think they quite knew how to handle what was next. And I think that the Browns are dealing with what Buffalo was dealing with last year. The Browns achieved their goal. I think the Browns' goal was just beating Pittsburgh. And they were like, oh, we're still here playing with house money. Now, maybe next year for them, and I don't know if they're actually a
They're
multiple
going
playoff
8-8
team.
next year.
Yeah, I'm not sure if with Pittsburgh falling off the division, who knows where they could be? Maybe they could be a wild card.
They're a middling team. The thing is,
Baltimore and Cincy will be good.
I don't think
next year.
Cincinnati's better than
I
Cleveland
will
next
say
year by any
Cleveland.
means.
Cleveland against the Chiefs reminded me that the AFC North played nobody.
Oh, nobody at all.
And how we were all saying, yeah, the Steelers are frauds heading into the playoffs, especially, and then they proved it by just collapsing. But then you had to remember, Cleveland had a similar strength of schedule than the Steelers did,
Even a little bit easier.
maybe
the
even a little
Ravens.
easier. And,
Pittsburgh would have
so
been
did the
playing
Ravens.
division
Why?
winners.
The Ravens didn't make the playoffs until beating the poop part of their schedule at the end of it, and it just shows that.
2 games against Cincinnati, the entire NFC East.
Yep, the NFC East, yeah, and
Especially
Terrible
Cincinnati
team.
without Burrow towards the end of the
They
year.
almost lost to the Eagles.
True.
yeah, it just goes to show that sometimes you don't play anybody, and you kind of hide some of the issues that are there.
That's why I'm kind of happy the Bills played such a tough schedule this season.
They went 13-3
They're
with the
prepared.
third hardest schedule.
They're in the playoffs now, prepared for these good teams. They've seen good teams, not like the Ravens, who haven't seen great teams this year. They've seen the Chiefs, but that's about it.
Their
I
worst
think-
loss was to an 8-8 team.
I think this just affirms us that we when we're sitting here talking about who we do and don't want to play in the playoffs, every other playoff team was looking at the Bills and circling it. They had to be. And if they weren't, they were foolish. And even Kansas City, if you give Kansas City fans the choice at the beginning of these playoffs of the team they didn't want to play, maybe Tennessee comes before Buffalo.
I wouldn't say that because
I agree. I mean, I'm just trying to think of like,
you even just look at the raw record. The Bills are the second best team in the league.
Yeah,
I mean, in the conference.
And I don't think Kansas City's afraid to play Buffalo at all. That's not it. But if you were to ask Kansas City fans to rank which team you do not want to play, I'm not talking right now. I'm talking at the beginning of the playoffs.
Just like all of it, yeah.
The Bills probably had to be at the top of that list.
And they're staring them down this Sunday.
Yeah. And this feels so good too. Like my wife was actually the one to say to me yesterday, I'm like, well, I wish it would have been Cleveland. She's like, it was always going to be Kansas City. I'm like, you're right.
It really
said
did
this from
feel
the
like
beginning of the playoffs that, hey, the good news is you don't face the buzzsaw until the AFC Championship game. You can't face them any sooner. And we all, in the front of our minds, knew that was going to be the case. And here we are, and I'm not upset about it.
Also, speaking of who we want to play and who we don't want to play, I just want to get this out in the open. There have been some people who I've heard talking about it or tweeting about it that they want Mahomes to be healthy because they want to play him. I just want to go on the record. If Chad Henne is the starting quarterback on Sunday, I am all for it. I don't care how you make it there. I don't care if you play the best guy.
But Jeff,
I don't care.
Isn't there an asterisk on the Lombardi?
No, there's not. There's not a single one.
You have
Put
to
me
play
in the Super Bowl by beating Chad Henne. They will kill the Chiefs with Chad Henne.
You have to play the team that's put in front of you. You don't get to select, okay, I want to play this person or this person or this team or this team. This isn't college where you get to make your cupcake schedule if you're the SEC, where Alabama plays the Citadel and FCS team and somebody from who knows where and
Appalachian
and
State.
can we say on the other side of it, do you guys remember before the playoff game last year, J.J. Watt was on IR for like 12 weeks. And guess what game he came back for? The wild card game against Buffalo. And it was like, shit. Like, you know, for the whole year, this guy hasn't played. He's such a difference maker. He wasn't even huge in the game, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it can go the other way, too.
But he made an impact play.
It can go the other way, too, that you end up on a schedule. You haven't played a team where, do you remember the Sabres played the Sharks the day they acquired Joe Thornton from Boston? Sharks beat Buffalo 5-0 because that always gives a jolt to the locker room when you bring in a guy like that. Sometimes that happens, and other times you get Mahomes with an injured foot and a wonky head, or you get Chad Henne. So it goes the way it goes.
So, Jeff, I am one of those people that generally says I do want to beat teams at their best because, hi, it me, cocky bitch, I'm back. But it's not this. It's a little bit different here because of the fact that if Mahomes is in this game tactically, there's still a problem with his foot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm not scared of him being there. I am not worried about it because you just go aggro, you blitz the crap out of him because, yeah, you're going to get burned every now and then. It's the Chiefs. You're going to let up points. Don't be scared, but
he's not running well.
You got to force him to start being mobile again. And if he's not up to snuff for that, take advantage.
And if
it sucks.
His foot, darn.
It sucks. It's, you know, you never want to see a player suffering a head injury, or with Mahomes, it looks like it was a nerve injury with his neck,
Yeah, it was really
which is
scary
even
the way
more
that he got
scary.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, I say we should
That's even
speculate.
more
He stood up
terrifying.
and the dude did not blink.
Let's
it was
speculate
awkward.
wildly.
Like, it was scary.
It wasn't
the-
even a bad hit by Wilson.
No.
It didn't
I
look
think
like.
that hit it's got something to do with his neck.
It was something to do
and
with his
if he
neck.
plays this week, he's not going to be healthy.
No,
and I'd imagine turning your head a lot might be an issue. It looked like it's probably some kind of neck thing.
All that being said, and I went on the record in the group chat yesterday, I will be shocked if he is not cleared before Sunday.
Oh,
I
yeah,
will be
of course.
Cleared
absolutely floored.
in
Well, if it is some kind of
points.
neck injury, I'm sure they'd be careful with their $500 million quarterback.
Yeah, that is true. Like the NFL, as you put in the group chat, does not care. And you are absolutely 1,000% correct about that. However, Justin puts up the good point of you want to protect your long-term investment because this is not going to be the last time you're in the AFC Championship game.
The only
Patrick
caveat I
Mahomes.
would give is I would not be shocked if he got cleared by the independent neurologist and still didn't start.
Yes. A neck injury probably seems worse right now than a head injury. And it sucked to see Lamar Jackson go down like that. But again, as I previously stated, I think you broke him so badly that you were going to get a safety on the following
I mean, the
play.
Ravens are historically bad playing from behind because they are not a team built to throw the ball, throw themselves back into the game. I want to give that kid Huntley some credit. He came in and he played pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
He passed as well as Lamar did that game.
Mark
He
Andrews with
had-
a tough drop at the end of that drive.
and he had Marquise Brown on that bomb too. I No, the downfield passing with the wind was very difficult.
very difficult.
But that was the one breakdown that entire game for the Bills defense. He had Hollywood Brown. I don't know if it was just a miscommunication between White and the safety, but he got inside and he was
a broken
Yeah,
play,
it was
too.
an out and up, and that would have burned Trey. And
My butthole still perking up from that play.
Dude, that was the b-hole clenching game. And again, with the Chiefs and Mahomes, there's really, like, tactically, if Mahomes is in, go after him. Guess what? If Henny's in, go after him.
yeah.
Yeah,
That pick that Henny threw was awful.
Oh, my God.
It was an arm punt.
Arm punt.
I put right away. I texted a bunch of friends. Nice arm punt because
Yeah.
that ball just sailed right up in the air, and I'm pretty
It's just
sure.
like, where's he going
Pretty
with
sure
this?
that I saw the whoever it was for the Browns call for a fair catch before that ball came into his hands.
He was thinking about leaving the end zone. He's like, nah, this is free field position.
Imagine if he had a 101-yard interception return
Oh, God.
on Sunday to clinch that game.
What a friggin' moose you would look like. Just sailing something up there like that and just, wow.
Literally throwing
you're-
the game away for your
Well,
team.
you're not going to return any
Also, I just used
interception with a
moose as an
5-second
insult.
hang time. So
Yeah, no, that was such a bad throw.
Yeah, the coverage team had plenty of time to get
Like
there.
Lamar Jackson, that's one thing because maybe Johnson's disguising himself a little bit in coverage. Henny literally just threw that thing in the end zone with 3 Browns and 1 Chief there, and he's like, Jesus, take the wheel.
He might have closed his eyes.
Chuck a
first.
duck.
Johnson was reading Lamar Jackson the whole way. Jackson never saw Johnson.
Exactly.
But Johnson was
That's a good
reading,
defensive play in addition to not the smartest throw.
Yeah.
Henny,
Just chucked it.
Henny's like, I'm a backup. Fuck it.
The development of the depth of the Bills secondary is going to be key for them if they want to have a run at a championship.
If you watch-
Because every team that's left has been known for being. They're 4 of the top 6 passing teams, the Bills included, left in the NFL.
That's not a coincidence.
It's not a coincidence. But you have to be able to be deep. Kansas City, even if it's Chad Henne, they still have Kelsey, Hill, Hardman, maybe Sammy Watkins, Pringle, Demarcus Robinson. They have depth at receiver. And either NFC team, and tons of speed too. And either NFC team is going to have great quarterback play and depth at wide receiver. Maybe Green Bay could have had a little more depth at wide receiver if they didn't draft a quarterback in the first round. But it's a story for the preview show next week.
Yes.
The development of Taron Johnson, of Levi Wallace in his own way, I think he's held in a much higher esteem than he was this time last year, even though he was an established player. Of Dane Jackson, the continued dominant play of both safeties, and of course, Mr. Tre'Davious White, who continues to be one of the best corners in the NFL. This secondary, that's why you can blitz Mahomes on Sunday if he's in with his bad foot, because I trust those guys if they're left in some bad situations, if they're left on an island. I trust all those guys to make the right play.
And don't forget, if anything were to happen to either of those safeties back there, you know who you've got waiting in the wings? Dean Marlowe,
he's
who's
been
not
good.
exactly
He's
a
balled out
bad
this year.
player himself.
He's proven himself.
And you
this year
keep
as
talking
well.
about the secondary, Jeff. The number of corner blitzes that have gotten home this
yeah.
year, and safety blitzes, and just Poyer and Hyde's ability to get to the box and stop a run or
Taron
come on a
Johnson's
blitz.
very good.
There's-
Levi Wallace and Taron Johnson on corner blitzes have worked this year, and it worked against Lamar. Some of the sacks that the Bills got were because it was an unexpected corner blitz, and that's the other unappreciated and undervalued part of the secondary that went. I think it was Dean Marlowe that came in the game for Jordan Poyer when he got his bell rung a couple weeks ago. I think his first play was a sack. Like he came in and
very
blitzed
early
and
in
got
that,
right in
yeah.
there, and then he made several other plays, including an interception that game, I believe, or 2, whatever he did. He was unbelievable. But
Yeah, he had a pick
the
in that one.
secondary is not vanilla in that they're pretty good at covering guys. They are dynamic. They're able to obviously play
plays.
zone or man or whatever they're asked to do, and yeah, I like that. The secondary just knows how to make plays.
There's so many plays that you see Taron Johnson just coming around the backside so often. He's just missing getting home on blitzes.
And a running play too. He
Yeah,
gets back there
but
too.
even that pick he made, if you watch it, just go back to that real fast. But if you watch that play, like it's like he sees it and like shuffles towards the pass, and then backs off almost to bait Lamar into it, and then he's there and picks it off and gone.
Big redemption arc from the guy who was more notably known before that for being drilled in the side of the head at the NFL Combine, running the back and forth.
Did you know that
drill.
was him prior to today?
No, actually, I learned it Monday.
I did not know
Monday
that.
morning.
No,
That's
I knew that was him. Now, unfortunately, this is where we get some thick in the conversation here because I've got a big juicy butt about the Bills secondary about
Yeah, you
this
do.
matchup. But the biggest weakness they're going to have in this game, Jeff, you listed off the entire roster of the Chiefs receivers, and there is a huge correlating problem that they have. And I said it earlier in the podcast. I don't want Levi Wallace slander, but speed is his hardest thing to cover. This Chiefs receiver core has speed. Too much speed. Sonic level speed. Gotta go fast speed.
And no matter who you have at
Wallace
quarterback
and
two-
Norman are in trouble. The safeties are going to have to make sure they bracket something here. If they're going to get fancy with blitzes, if they're going to get aggressive, they need to make sure tactically that everything is fine.
Yeah, and that's the one area that the Chiefs are really so far above every other team in the league. They don't maybe have the best route running group, but every single receiver on that team, maybe with the exception of Sammy, who probably is the best route runner in that receiving room, are just track stars. And Tyreek Hill is a freak because he's able to play receiver that well downfield while also just being that fast. But, I mean, Pringle, McCole Hardman, these are guys who are, you get them in any sort of space, you're in trouble. So again, kind of at a different level of the field maybe than you did on Saturday with Lamar in the run game. You have to be able to contain these players and not let them get into open space, because if you give these guys an inch, they'll take a mile. It's not in the backfield where you're worried about containing J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards and Lamar Jackson, but it is in that second level where I don't want to see Tyreek Hill breaking a 70-yard play, because it doesn't take much to jolt that offense to life. It's not going to be Edwards-Helaire. I don't think he's going to play, and if he does, he won't be 100% with that hip injury he's been trying to work himself back from. So if they're going to get some big plays, it's going to be in that mid-level passing game.
So as we're talking about injuries with Sammy being out and Edwards-Helaire and Mahomes, I'm having like a little bit of a flashback revelation kind of deal. When the lines came out for Week 17 from Vegas, Cleveland opened up as 8-point favorites. And everyone thought that was crazy, including me, except we all knew that Big Ben might not be playing. Mm-hmm. Turns out, by Tuesday, it was announced that Big Ben wasn't playing, that it was going to be Mason Rudolph starting the game. So Vegas knew what they were doing, albeit Cleveland winning by 2. They covered. The Bills opened up as 1.5 point favorites. They're not getting a 1.5. They're minus 1.5. The promos that the NFL was pushing out, might have been NFL and ESPN.
Kelce.
Yes, it's Josh Allen and Travis Kelce. And on the other side, it's Brady and Rodgers. Who knows what that we don't? I don't know. This is pure speculation. But
That's wild
Vegas is not in the game to lose money. If the Bills were getting any points to this game, I'd hammer it. Because if Mahomes doesn't play or he's not 100%, if you give me the Bills +4, I'd hammer it, because I think they keep it close enough. They only lost by 7 to Mahomes and company in the regular season, right?
Right.
So I'd hammer the Bills +4. It's smart that Vegas cautiously opened at the Bills minus 1.5. I think pushing the money more towards Kansas City. I think that way, if Mahomes doesn't play, I don't know.
I'd say it's wild speculation. I think it's also cautiousness from the NFL on a marketing standpoint.
But Vegas isn't the NFL.
No, I know, but
Vegas is in the business of making money.
I know,
and
but
they know what they're doing.
I'm just speaking on the other side of it, which is the promotional stuff with seeing Travis Kelce's face on there instead of Patrick Mahomes right now. I think that's more or less, they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
They also don't want to advertise like, we think Mahomes is going to be back for sure after what you saw yesterday.
Yeah.
It's a
But
bad
it just
look for
tells you that
Plus,
there's
how bad
definitely
would
a chance that he will not play.
How bad it would look on them if they're advertising a guy who just got concussed.
But don't forget, too, like every time a coach after a game says, I don't know, I haven't talked to the medical staff yet, they are so full of shit. They know exactly how many bones in the finger are broken. They know exactly how long it's going to be. I bet they know before the game is over. And they always try to come out here and say, I haven't talked to the medical staff yet. We know that's a lie. So I guarantee you already. You mean to tell me Andy Reid doesn't know the exact window when Mahomes will be ready? I understand that there's moving targets here, but you mean to tell me Mahomes didn't sit down with that Andy Reid didn't sit down with the medical staff and say, give it to me straight. Is there a chance that he plays? What chances are you giving him? He's going to go into the press and say, I don't know, because he has to. But I don't know.
I do think that a concussion is a little bit harder for someone to nail down than it is, this guy's finger is broken. Because every human being responds differently to that kind of injury. And there is such a moving protocol for, you have to do these things in this order, but there's no particular timetable. And then you have to return to full contact activity before the end of the week. But
and just what's interesting is quarterbacks the rule is you have to be cleared for non-contact first, and then contact. Quarterbacks always wear non-contact. So if they do a baseline test after practice on Wednesday and he was in the non-contact jersey, and then on Thursday it would be normally a contact practice, he still wouldn't get contact. His quarterbacks are always in the non-contact jersey. So how are they going to get a clear indication of him being cleared to play? You know what I mean? I don't know.
I mean, he's not the first quarterback to go through that rigmarole either,
Correct.
though I'm sure they've got a specific way that he has to be designated, things he has to do.
Let's look at Josh Allen, the New England concussion from last year. Not last year, a couple of years ago. He gets concussed against New England. He's back to play against Tennessee. And that's all within a week's time. So there are ways that I feel like they are capable of designating that. It's just, it might be a little trickier. And I think, again, it's not necessarily the head injury that I'm more concerned about if I'm Chiefs brass. It's the neck. And again, I said it. This isn't the last time they're going to be in the AFC Championship game.
I mean, they're set up for a decade of competition.
Yeah, they're going to be back there maybe next year. Probably next year.
This is their third straight time hosting the AFC Championship game.
Exactly. And it's something that you can't fathom how excellent that he is. You want to protect that as a long-term investment as well. Of course, they want to win the Super Bowl. But do you think that they believe that they've acquired a good enough group of players that they can get there with Chad Henne?
I hope they do. God, I hope they do.
Well,
Make that decision right now.
If he's 75, 80%, do you play him? Because what if you beat the Bills, you still got to go to the Super Bowl? Do you risk having hurt more? It's a weird
You
situation.
get the extra week.
I think
You do get the extra-
I think it depends so much on exactly what his problem is. Because the problem is if you leave it up to Patrick, he's going to want to play.
yeah.
He tried to go back into the
Left-handed
game on
if he
Sunday.
wants to.
He can throw left-handed.
We've seen it.
And 75% of Patrick Mahomes is better than 100% of Chad Henne. 70% of Patrick Mahomes is better than pretty much everyone in the fucking league.
They're saying on Twitter that he was trying to come back in the game, but he couldn't keep his balance.
Couldn't stand up.
No, he
straight.
couldn't stand up. He wanted to stand up and he couldn't. And he looked just dazed and confused.
So I don't know. I will be very surprised if Patrick Mahomes is not starting on Sunday for Kansas City. I'm not saying that's the right thing.
Nope.
Not saying that's the wrong thing. I will just be very surprised if it is not Patrick Mahomes under center. And maybe he looks awful, and maybe it's detrimental to Kansas City to play him. Maybe it's detrimental to him to try to play. But I can't think of any time in recent NFL history where a star player in a game like this isn't a Week 16 game against the Broncos. This is a win, get an extra week off, and go to the Super Bowl game. I can't think of a time, especially a quarterback, has ever not tried to play through any sort of injury that they have had in front of them.
And now comes the real test. I mean, we're talking about this on a Monday night. If he is not practicing by Thursday, you're looking at an honest-to-goodness coin flip. If he's not practicing by Thursday, Chiefs fans are going to have doom settle in.
It's going to be a big F5 on
protocols.
Twitter day for Bills fans.
I don't think he'll be able to
every
clear
day.
protocols if he doesn't practice by Thursday because
You could try
the last two protocols he has to practice one non-contact, one contact, and has to pass the baseline after doing so.
Yeah, and
So
you could cheese it
with a
into a way of
walkthrough.
using Saturday as a practice or something. The NFL is going to find a way to skirt the rules if they need to for the most marketable player of their league to be in this game.
They want the ratings and the advertiser money. If he's able to play,
You're going to get the ratings no matter what. It's the AFC Championship at this point.
true. But I'm just saying, if they want that game to be close and competitive and a future showcase of two guys who are positioned to be, I mean, your 3:00 game, you've got the old guard, quote unquote. And Rodgers isn't quite he's not done yet. But you've got the guys who have been around for 10, 15 years, and then your 6:40 game, you've got the next group. It writes itself for the NFL. They would love to have that kind of contrast in the quarterback matchups with Mahomes in. Not that they want Patrick Mahomes to suffer a more significant injury and then never play football again, which is the other side of forcing guys to play when maybe they're not physically ready. And this is all speculation, so I should probably cut myself off with getting too far ahead of myself when it comes to anything injuries. No one knows what Patrick is dealing with. But it was going to be an intriguing game anyway. And it was impossible to say, I don't know if I would have been able to pick a winner of this game on Sunday with Mahomes in with just the foot injury. Because turf toe is one of those things that lingers. It is one of those injuries that anything with the foot when you can't move as much and you can't plant quite as nicely as you'd like to, that really bothers quarterbacks. It feels like this is as good of an opportunity, regardless of who plays at quarterback on Sunday, that the Bills could have possibly hoped for in terms of a path to a Super Bowl. It's crazy to even think that I'm saying that. But the path is there. It's theirs to take now. They're the favorites. It feels like they should be the favorites. And now it comes down to how well they can execute. 60 more minutes, and you play in Tampa Bay.
And of course, the big thing, like we're talking about the quarterback, and it's going to be the biggest piece of conversation all week, no matter who you're hearing it from. This still will come down to Josh Allen versus the Chiefs defense. Allen doesn't play against Mahomes. Allen doesn't play against Henny. The defense is going to have to do its job, and it gets a lot harder if Patrick Mahomes is in, of course. But I can't rely on the Bills being defensive ace for the second week in a row, and overall being relatively decent against the Colts. If the Bills are going to win this game and make everyone feel comfortable, got to get back on that money, man.
Yeah, I almost don't care how the defense plays. I just want them to score 40.
They need to score no matter what it is.
It's going to be whoever can stop first, I feel like.
Now, so Brian Dable's not going to get a head coaching job this year, it looks like. And you know what? After the last two games, I don't know how mixed my emotions are on this, but the Bills, I feel like personally, ran it too much in the wild card game, and then literally didn't call a running play until there was one play in the second half that was a called run.
First half.
In the first half, excuse me, but
no, there wasn't.
No, there was.
The only time they ran the ball in the first half was Josh Allen's scramble.
They had two runs. One was a scramble. One was actually a designed run.
No.
Yes.
No.
They had more points than runs. Yes.
No. The only run in the first half, Jeff. Back me up. The only run in the first half was Josh Allen's scramble.
That is the way I remember.
We might
they even talked about it at halftime.
I think there were two run plays before. I'm fairly certain.
And the only drive where they did
plays.
actually run the ball, just happened to be the touchdown drive.
They had more. Look, I have more testicles than they had called run plays in the first half. They ended up with two in the first half. The called runs was only literally one.
Who was the called run?
That one was for Singletary. He did also get banged up in that game too, which is why you saw TJ Yeldon toward the end.
And Yeldon's also he's not sure where he stands in terms of being a runner. He's a great pass blocker,
yes,
which is great to have in for Josh, which is why I think he's kind of cemented himself in that supplementary running back role with Moss out. I know people wanted to see Williams, but if you're not really going to run the ball, I have a hard time justifying Williams being in over Yeldon. If you're actually planning on running the ball, then maybe you give him a shot. But if you're just going to
TJ Yeldon's a good ball carrier anyway.
He's all right.
He's all right.
Let's not overstate
he's a
him
backup.
here.
He's a backup running back at that point, but he's also a pass catching specialist.
He's also always been a much better receiving back and pass blocker than he ever was a runner.
Yeah, he's a pass catching specialist.
And you see they went in with a pass heavy game plan, so it makes sense why they played.
It makes sense.
It was meme worthy play calling there. It's like, nah, fuck the run. You guys said you don't want us to run, okay?
I think we would be less critical of the play calling if the wind hadn't impacted some of Josh's throws so much. Because
very true.
There was easily 14 more points on the field for the passing game if some of the downfield passes, which he had guys open for, hadn't kind of sailed over targets.
Steve and I had a quick little back and forth on Twitter about this, agreeing that John Brown had a touchdown if he kept going.
Oh, yeah.
He misjudged that ball, and Allen had been going long on them all evening. And that was he misjudged it. He thought the wind was going to affect it to go short. It didn't, and it sails over everybody.
I mean, neither quarterback could get a grip by the wind. Every ball that come out of their hands.
That touchdown pass is there if the wind doesn't mess with it.
Well, every ball coming out of each quarterback's hands was wobbly as a goose. The wind was affecting every single throw.
That's why I want to take a second to talk about the touchdown call to Stephon Diggs. That is a perfect scheme, and I wonder if they just. I feel like that's a check down. You try to line up on that side. You see how many defensive backs are on that side. You see you have less defensive backs than receivers. You immediately throw the screen.
Allen wanted to get that play off so fast.
He threw the ball with no laces.
The ref, because players were coming off of the sidelines, he was not allowed to do it yet. And he's like, no, I got to do this before they notice. And, of course, 3 is better than 2, and math works.
I mean, I'll take Stephon Diggs running through any defensive back from 2 yards when that DB doesn't have any sort of head start or forward momentum.
Let alone you have 2 blockers right there.
I went through the play-by-play, and Allen scrambled to the right, and Devin Singletary went to left tackle for 3 yards. You are correct.
There was one
in the second quarter.
But yes, there was one called run. That is very much that was the truth.
What I want to know is how you forget to cover any of those Bills receivers. I mean, 1 through 4. How do you forget to cover any of them?
That is the worst Sabres goal of all time by Yoki Haru. Make it 5-0.
Oh, it goes off the skate of Gustafsson. That's the only way that went in. Boop. There it is.
We'll get to the Sabres full time in a little bit, but this is a bit of an early season statement by them.
Hey, boys, this is a shit pumping.
It is a shit pumping.
Shit pumping.
You know what's weird about the Mahomes injury real fast? Is that it's still not even clear whether or not he has a concussion. Like, that's kind of the weird thing. He's in concussion protocol, but it's not clear whether that's what he has. That's kind of a good, like, they're hiding something. It's just super tinfoil hatty of me to say, but I was looking on the interwebs and it's just kind of like, what's wrong with him? No one's
Justin
really
went
sure.
to Illuminati.com and looked up Patrick Mahomes.
I saw it on the ESPN on the ESPN article. I was like, so
It's the same
ESPN's
thing.
the Illuminati
Decent.
for
It's the same
sports
thing.
fans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same thing.
LeBron James and Pat Mahomes Super Network.
Basically.
Yeah. I also know, though, that the major thing here is that I can't fathom having my franchise quarterback dealing with a neck injury right before the AFC Championship game.
Against a team that blitzes a lot.
That's got to suck.
Less than
Speaking
ideal.
of blitzing, can we just go ahead and say real quick that the league respects Josh Allen?
Yeah, they didn't blitz.
They didn't blitz him hardly at all.
Because he burns you when you do. He's the number one quarterback in the league against the blitz.
The most blitz heavy defense in the league decided no, F that. We're not doing it this time.
Not just
This
that, a
is
team
not
that
a good
aggressively blitzed him the last time they played.
Yeah, and they see that he's just picking that apart. So there are fans and pundits across the country that do not respect Josh Allen still. You know who the hell does? Defensive coordinators. And that is one of the biggest statements that can be made, is that a defensive coordinator goes away from his strong suit. What makes them successful is being such an aggressive defense, and says, no, we have to focus here on Cole Beasley, and we have to make him earn everything. And it sucked that the wind was so much of a factor, because Allen would have toasted him.
Yeah, no, it would have been a much different score if it wasn't so windy.
But
Cole Beasley wasn't even involved in the game barely. He had one pass that
They focused on him. They keyed him.
Because great job by Humphrey on Beasley for the record.
Great job by Humphrey on Beasley, and they have the corners to make that happen. Marlon Humphrey, being on the inside, was more or less they had to focus on Cole Beasley. Because when you have Jimmy Smith and Marcus Peters, you can put Humphrey, who's your best corner, anywhere. And once again, Baltimore defensively had the best capability and personnel to match up with Josh Allen, and decided, we're not going to go after him. We're going to make sure that everything's tough for them to get and gain yardage on them. And, we know they're not going to run it on us. They're not good at running the football in the first place, and we're still very good at that too.
And just you talk about what they took away from Allen. I don't know that they took away from Allen. Allen missed some throws, and you can blame the wind. Stephon Diggs had a walk-in touchdown in the first quarter that Allen, or the first half that Allen just missed on. Gabriel Davis dropped a touchdown. If Davis catches that ball, I'm not convinced that Davis's ankle injury didn't cause him to drop the ball.
No, he
Because
caught
we're-
it.
He had it.
Me and
But
Mike
don't-
talked about it. He
don't-
caught it in a weird way.
But he came off the field with an ankle injury and was questionable to return. And he came back like a couple snaps or the next drive or whatever. You can't tell me that if his ankle rolled up under him, well, he was trying to bring it in if his body tensed up or something, because that was the play that he hurt his ankle.
There was one thing they kind of took away. The Bills, one of Josh Allen's biggest improvements in his career is his intermediate game. And I think that's kind of what was taken away from them a lot more, was because Cole Beasley, he's a short yardage extravaganza kind of player, but also he does a lot of damage in the intermediates. And that is something they took away. Cole Beasley hurts you on locking down Cole Beasley hurts you on first down and third down primarily. Third down because obviously he helps move the chains. But how often do they get themselves into such good situations because Cole Beasley's open right away on a first down? Because everything's available. That's where it was. And again, having the talent to also still have someone who's a number one corner be able to cover Stephon Diggs helps. Baltimore had the personnel. And it was just, again, the masterclass that the Bills defense put on. And you win by 14.
I mean, in theory, Baltimore really should have been able to cover them very well, because you have
Everyone's all like, I don't
Peter,
want to play
you have,
Tennessee.
you have Peters, you have Humphreys, and who's the other corner they have? Who's
Jimmy Smith.
Yeah, you've got three really good corners over there, and in theory, you should be able to totally lock down anybody. And it just seemed like it was more the wind shutting down the Bills' passing game than anything.
The wind shut down the Bills' deep passing game. The Ravens shut down the short and intermediate stuff.
That's a good way to put it for sure.
That's all you had to do. The wind really changed the defense, because you don't have to defend the deep stuff. You kind of let it go in a sense, but like just That's a smart defending. Jim Harbaugh's a good coach.
Yeah.
That respects Josh Allen.
Have we not yet talked
Needle
about?
dicks like Skip Bayless and Nick Wright.
Have we not yet talked about the best kicker in the NFL? Not
No, we
hitting
haven't.
the upright
Did you see
once,
his-
but twice.
You see his face after he missed the
Oh,
first.
Couldn't believe it.
He Adam Gase-eyed it.
The first one, yes.
Anything.
The first one, it was the announcer jinx. You have Al Michaels with the he never misses from here, dung, right off the upright and not in.
I was
It was
stunned.
perfect when as soon as the announcer goes, he almost never misses. Al Michaels' exact quote. Here's Justin Tucker from 41 yards. He almost never misses, and right off the upright. And man, these are the kinds of things that just make you think like this is the Bills' year. And this is the type of shit that happened for New England all the time. Not that New England wasn't a great team and didn't do a lot of good things and didn't do a lot of things right, but this stuff would always happen in favor of good teams. Like they make their own breaks, sure, but
Tom Brady never complained if he got Mark Sanchez instead of Roethlisberger or Manning in the AFC Championship game. If you don't get Mahomes, it's a blessing.
yep.
Take the path you got and just win your games.
I just feel like you never know how things are going to unfold, and so far things have unfolded in the Bills' favor in so many ways, and a lot of it's making their own luck. Like the any fears that fans had, including me, of any respect of Baltimore, they beat them. They played better than them. They beat them. Nobody's going to say that Baltimore deserved that win that game over Buffalo.
No.
And they went out and earned it.
Stephen A. was on the television today saying that Lamar Jackson lost the game. Gave the Bills no credit. This is all Lamar Jackson's
Right,
fault.
of course.
I don't think Lamar played
That's how
excellent, but I have a
talking
hard
heads
time
work,
saying
though.
that everything's his fault.
That's how talking heads work, though.
Yeah, I know.
It's just like I never really care about the talking head shows and everything like that. Like I don't get so butthurt about Nick Wright saying whatever spews out of his ass either. Like it's just, you know what, talking head shows do that sort of thing. And I don't care if they actually believe it or not, because some of the time they don't actually believe it. They just need to have a debate show, and you can't have a debate if two people agree with each other. So someone's got to bite the bullet and cause the headline to be something else. And now you bring up the fact, though, that Tucker missed a couple, and Tyler Bass missed for the first time since week 8.
And missed two.
And he missed 2. That's how tough that wind was in this game. And look at me saying that Tyler Bass is the barometer to measure everything by, because the dude hadn't missed since the Jets game where he kicked 6 of 8. The Bills, I'm glad that their defense showed up. And I still will always have in the back of my head the worry about weather affecting this team, but this time it hurt both of them so badly that it really was something.
It
But
was
the
kind of
Bills
a push.
defense ultimately made it not matter.
And
Say Tucker makes those field goals. Oh no, you beat them 17-9.
what's nice about this week too is that if it's a bad weather game, it's a very similar team they're playing. It's more of a track meet for the Chiefs. So any bad weather probably plays in the Bills' hands,
It may.
especially the bowling ball Antonio Williams if he has to play.
It'll still be in the back of my mind, and that's why this week it's in the back of my mind, because as you just said, the Chiefs, this may be an equalizer in that sort of way. Hell, if they're playing Chad Henne, I'm looking at the Bills and I'm thinking, okay, let's do this. But again, it'll always be in the back of my head right now, but the defense stepping up the way it has over the last 6 weeks of this season in playoffs.
Started with the Pittsburgh game for me.
Started with the Pittsburgh game, and they have just gotten better and steadily more and more consistent from what they were up and down all year.
This is not the same team as when they played in week 6.
No, this defense is finally gelling.
Is Pittsburgh the game after the Cardinals?
No.
Because to me,
Pittsburgh's a couple weeks after.
to me,
that.
that's when it started. I feel like they're like, we're done letting teams hang around.
It was after the bye week you noticed it, because they went ahead and they just bullied Drew Lock, who threw 4 touchdowns the week prior.
Yeah,
And-
like, we're done letting teams hang around. We're going to put these teams away.
Yeah,
we're
and
going to let this happen again.
The
and-
defense got a defensive touchdown on a fun run from Jerry Hughes in that Broncos game, and then they go ahead and they do this to Pittsburgh. They body that team that was 11-1 at the time.
wasn't
And
the Pittsburgh game before that? Like the Denver game was the clincher.
Denver game was the clincher. It all blurs in right now.
It does. They
win so much that it blurs.
The Taron Johnson pick 6 of Ben was their first defensive touchdown for like 5 years.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And then they had 2 in a row because, yes.
They
you're
played
right.
out of the bye, the 49er. No,
That's when
the Chargers.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was Chargers. They won 27-17, built the Niners 34-24. Then the Bills beat the Steelers. Then the Bills beat the Broncos.
They win so much that they blur.
I mean, it was all positive moments. I mean, it's all just one long
It would
fever
be
dream.
32 wins in a row if not for the Hail Murray.
I know, right? But it just
That, in a weird way, that Hail Mary is the best thing that happened to them.
and
That
I
was
think the
the
team
wake up
said
call
it.
of all wake
I
up
think
calls.
the team would tell you that too.
they
have
did say it.
Yep.
It's not even that they would say it. They did say it. Jordan Poyer was on record saying that this happened, and it kind of reminded us how things can hurt. And they mentioned something about the fact that the Cardinals celebrated like they won the Super Bowl. And the Bills looked at that and reflected on that and said, why aren't we lamenting like we lost it? And that was the wake-up call for them to really keep their focus and defensively make sure that they gather the consistency in order to be back to what, I'm not going to say they're back to what they were last year, but they're back to what they should be, a respectable defense that we're not going to be doom and gloom when they're out there. The Colts game, as they're driving down the field for that final one, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, you collapsed a 14-point lead, but I'm not doom and gloom yet because they've played better over the course of the season, over the second half of the season. And then ultimately they did their job. They did more than their job and didn't get credit for a play of it, but they're back to being a respectable unit. They're back to being a consistent unit. And this is a team that I would be scared to play no matter who I am. If I'm the Packers, you're still dealing with a complete team. If I'm the Buccaneers, you're dealing with a complete team and a coach that does very well planning against Tom Brady. And of course, the Chiefs, especially if you don't have Patrick Mahomes, I am fretting. But if he does play, the Bills still have the rest of their team that you have to worry about.
I think there may still be those same two weaknesses for the team, but Kansas City doesn't really have the run game at this point to attack Buffalo. They do have the tight end. Kelsey could be maybe he'll try to be the X factor because Milano can help, but Kelsey's the best tight end in the NFL, and even George Kittle will tell you that, and Kittle's phenomenal. But Kansas City's inability to really run the ball without Edwards-Helaire. Le'Veon Bell is not Le'Veon Bell in Pittsburgh. I'm not worried about Darrell Williams. I'm not worried about Darwin Thompson. I'm not worried about who they have back there right now. Kansas City is going to have to throw the ball down the field to beat the Bills, and I don't know that that's going to happen. So
horizontally, their passing game could be a problem. Again, Wallace and Norman are not good against speed, and laterally, horizontally on the field, that is a problem. So a lot of flood concepts, a lot of shorter passes, crossing patterns could be a problem for them. And even Chad Henne can do that. But when's the last time that a Bills defense really had those problems line up on them?
I was hoping to play Cleveland because I look at how often they threw the ball short. And Pittsburgh tried to do that, and Buffalo just feasted on it. Buffalo just sat and waited for the short passes.
Well, that's because of their limitations. Mahomes, if he plays, does have the deep ball element and the accuracy that you have to respect.
But I'm saying
that.
that's why I was excited to play Cleveland if they would have, because Buffalo could have easily solved the short passing game that Cleveland would have tried to play with.
I like that the Flyers scored a goal and it was barely a goal.
And they didn't celebrate because it's 5-1
5-1
Sabres with 2 minutes left.
What
in
are
the
you
third.
celebrating at that point?
Darlene is hurt.
Oh, no.
He's like a stick in the face. That's
Yeah,
all.
he's already
okay.
just got clipped.
He's gonna go fix his hair in the locker room.
Good God, that flow now on him.
You better take Troy Polamalu's advice and use Head and Shoulders.
Oh,
So
yeah.
this might be the point before we transition fully to hockey here. What is the pulse? What do we have score predictions?
Oh, I can't.
Oh,
I
that
got
was
punched
an
in the
elbow
face
to the
by Abbott
face.
Cabell. Okay.
Yeah.
That might be a broken nose. All right, what'd you say, Jeff?
Score predictions. Kansas City, Buffalo.
Oh fuck, it's a tough one to predict.
I'll get it started here. I think that the Bills. I'm back. Cocky bitch is back. Cocky bitch against the Chiefs isn't going to say they win 38-9, but cocky bitch is going to say that the Bills do indeed win the game against the number one seed. It's going to be, and I'm going to even throw an extra one in there. I want the smoke with Tom Brady, but I don't think we're going to get it. We're going to get a 2-1, and it's going to be Aaron Rodgers versus Josh Allen. I'm not going to give a score for that game, but I think the Bills win against the Chiefs, and I'm going to say that this time around the offense is going to keep things going in the positive way. They're going to get a little bit more than 10 points offensively this time. I'm going to go with 27. That's been the number for them, safe to say, this time around, to 21.
That's low scoring. I'm thinking somewhere like 45-31 or something like that.
I think it'll be a little more subdued. These defenses are better than you
I
think.
think it'll be closer. I think it'll be like, oh, I missed it. I think it'll be like 38.
Olofsson from
I'll say
not the off-wing.
38-31 Bills.
I think maybe 31-27 Bills.
Wow.
Ooh, okay.
Damn you, Jeff.
Was that also your score, Mike?
I mean, if it's your
31-27 Bills, yeah.
yeah, if you think the same way, it's not a crime.
Wow. So
I
now
don't think you're going to blow Kansas City out.
I'm
honestly.
nervous now because if Henny plays Bills by 10, if Mahomes plays Chiefs by 3.
And no one's gonna say anything bad.
I'm like the
about that.
buzzkill. Nobody in here was willing to take the Chiefs. I think if Mahomes plays,
My original answer was
Mahomes'
gonna be
ankle is more of a problem to me.
I have Kansas City by a point if Mahomes is actually healthy enough. I just don't think he's going to be 100%. No matter even if his neck or head injury, if you get him, if he can't roll out, I don't know. Kansas City didn't really impress me too much the first time. They didn't run their full offense against Buffalo. They just ran the ball.
They've been very inconsistent the last 2 months. So as long as the Bills stop them from waking up, because they can get back into a game at any point. And again, me, cocky bitch, I'm going to pick the Bills over the Chiefs no matter who's in quarterback.
So they were almost losing to the Browns with Pat Mahomes in the game, majority of the game.
They almost lost to the Falcons
Yeah.
in the regular season.
Pat Mahomes, mobile homes, RV homes,
Like,
Bills
Mahomes-
by 30.
Mahomes missed what, the last 7 minutes? Something like that. It wasn't a lot of time they missed.
no, he missed almost the whole fourth quarter.
Was it?
Fourth
The whole
quarter,
fourth
yeah.
quarter?
Whole fourth quarter.
Well, my bad.
Because Henny played, 3 drives?
Yeah.
The
He
pick,
missed
the
the whole
punt,
least
and then the
two.
last game?
Yeah.
The pick, the punt, and then the... Might have only been 2
The
drives.
conversion. But the Chiefs, and this is the most dangerous thing for the Bills, the Chiefs with the ball to ice a game, they are perfect at it.
Yeah. I mean, Andy Reid is still the best offensive mind in the NFL. No offense to Brian Dable. Andy Reid is still in a league of his own when it comes to that kind of stuff. And this is a team that is used to this. Like we mentioned earlier, this is their third straight time, not just in the AFC Championship, third straight year hosting the AFC Championship game. They won last year. They probably should have beaten New England 2 years ago and somehow found a way to not win that game with some referee assistance and
Ford.
traditional Tom Brady magic. But I heaven help me, I've started buying into this team of destiny mindset. I think this is the time for Buffalo. I don't know if I even thought it before Saturday, but I think it now.
Yeah. And I'm ready at this point. That said, if they do lose to the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes in the lineup as this stipulation, if they lose to Mahomes and the Chiefs, I'm not going to be upset
Agreed.
at how the season concludes.
Agreed.
That said, how they lose and who they lose to under center will be big factors to me if they are to lose. If they lose by 4 points and there was a touchdown missed opportunity that they could have had and should have had, I'm going to be salty, and it's going to take me 2 weeks to be able to watch the Super Bowl. If they lose a game and it's not even close, the number one seed's the number one seed.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm going to be able to be. It would take a very specific scenario for me to actually be disappointed next
30 to
Monday.
13, I would say. It's a complete game from them, and the Chiefs defense frustrates Allen for the first time since week 5 when he lost to the Titans. Like, it's got to take something like that for me to go, okay, whatever.
And honestly,
if
even
they
in that
just don't
scenario-
show up on Sunday, it's going to be a bummer. But I don't think they'll do that. They haven't done that to us all year.
But like even in that scenario, there, Derek. I mean, would we really be disappointed if all they're not quite there yet? They just happen to be the second best team,
And that's where
I would have a hard time being truly upset. I would be disappointed for sure.
a last
But
second
not
or last minute loss is going to make me salty, and it's going to take a little bit longer for me to be like, okay, I'm willing to talk about it now. If it's just start to finish, Chiefs were the better team and they're up by at least a score the entire time, kind of like the last time they played, I'm not going to be as mad. Like, it'll be like I could talk about that next day and not scream or be bitter, and I can just accept our fate at that point. But this team is that good. They are a complete team.
So I think that's the perfect ending note for that, and we'll find out if Derek is screaming on Monday next week when we record, regardless of the outcome of the AFC Championship game. Let's talk some hockey. We've been
love that
talking
that's a
hockey
teaser.
in well, I mean, people have come to expect certain things from certain people in the room, so you got to get the people what they want. We've been talking about the game sporadically. The Sabres just wrapped up their third game of the regular season, a 6-1 shit pumping of the Philadelphia Flyers at Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia. Sabres moved to 1-2, but it does feel like at this point, taking steps every game. This is a huge step for them. I don't know if you can expect quite this offense every game from them, but tonight, hungry, attacking the puck, forcing turnovers, great passing the offensive zone. The Flyers were just on their heels the whole game, and Buffalo not just making chances, but converting chances. This is about as good of a game as you could hope for from this team. It was impressive in almost all facets for Buffalo here tonight.
And then you got Sabres fans freaking out all over the Sabres fanosphere, whatever you want to call it. Everyone was losing their minds over the first 2 games.
Twitter, that's what you mean.
Twitter wasn't even just, but it wasn't even just Twitter. It was everywhere.
Justin,
Facebook.
it was a joke. Settle
I
down.
know.
was trying
I
to
got
be funny. 2 people laughed and you corrected me. Ass. I'm just kidding.
Got him.
All them social medias.
Yeah, but they looked bad real bad for the first 40 minutes of the Caps opening night Caps game.
did.
But it was kind of expected, the 2-week training camp, so many new players. There's almost 2
long hiatus.
There's almost 2 new guys on each line that night, But what I didn't expect for that first night was the complete inability to complete passes everywhere. Every player is like overskating pucks, missing passes. Every single pass was missed.
There's going to be ugly hockey for the first month here.
No,
Let's
but
be real.
no, there's ugly hockey
Everywhere.
There's ugly hockey, and there's a complete inability to play hockey, which was happening for the first 40 minutes of
Look
that
at the
game.
Flyers. They just got shit pumped in the 3rd game of their season.
But then they played the next night against Capitals, and they looked like a whole different team.
They just couldn't finish.
They just couldn't finish. Their goalie played great. Tage Thompson made that goalie. He showed that he had the quickest chest in the league. Fired 2 shots right into the crest of his jersey.
And that's
But,
something that drives a hockey player more mad than anything.
Yeah, but they played great, and they found out tonight that they should keep Reinhart with Eichel and Hall because there was,
That was
one
buzzing.
shift in the 3rd period. You guys were talking about the Bills, and I was pointing at the screen laughing because they held the Flyers in their zone for over minutes
Looked
straight.
like a power play and it was even straight.
It was insane.
Well, they did that against Washington on Friday
Yes.
night, too.
They did.
Yeah, but they did it multiple occasions tonight, and drew penalties, created scoring chances. I think it's going to be a fun team. You got to remember the Caps are one of the best teams in the NHL, and they skated with them very well.
Now,
Second game.
I've got something that I have to say. That it's going to be every time I'm watching a Sabres game, it's a very similar feeling than every time that I watch a Bills game. Taylor Hall is a Buffalo Sabre. And tonight was another fun reminder of just how good he is and that he won an MVP.
He showed out.
He showed out. The pass to Reinhart for his first goal was aces. And you're just so happy and appreciative to see another elite talent like that on your team that you don't need Jack Eichel to be at his absolute best in order for things to be productive. Taylor Hall is that dude, and he is so fun to watch. And I'm so happy that even if for 1 year we get to see this on a nightly basis, Taylor Hall, super fun. Love seeing him play.
Well, and the other big thing, you're talking about them improving. What we cannot forget about Game 2 was the 0 for 5 on the power play. I don't even know if Buffalo took a penalty the whole game, but they had so many chances with Ilya Samsonov in his first career game, and they just couldn't beat him. And then tonight, anytime Philly took a penalty, they got scored on just about. I believe both the Reinhart goals were power play goals. So
And it's not like Carter Hart's a
And Olsen's
schmuck.
into the end there.
yes.
Well,
So-
that wasn't nothing on Hart. The Philly defense was just AWOL tonight.
Yeah.
It was bad. And when they got the puck, they were turning the puck over. Buffalo did a good job. That stretch in the first period where they somehow don't score. Eichel gets the turnover at the blue line, feeds it to Skinner for some reason.
Yeah.
I think Jack could have rifled it home easy. Tries to get Skinner back on the top line. They don't score. They get the puck again. They don't score. They get the puck again. Philly should have taken that as a wake-up call, and instead Buffalo just took it as they smell blood in the water. And every single Philly defenseman pass, it felt like a Buffalo stick. If they didn't intercept it, they got a piece of it.
Or they were interrupting it with whoever was receiving it.
It felt like what other teams had done to Buffalo's defense at points the last couple seasons. It was actually refreshing to see it from the other side, to see them actually be the aggressors.
Now, speaking of aggressors, I'm the one in the room that causes the Rasmus Ristolainen fight. Anytime we talk Sabres.
It was great last 2 nights.
I wouldn't say there was some, like, he was fine tonight, especially.
Especially, you see his game on Friday?
Yeah, no, I think
During
though.
Saturday.
Yeah, he was doing fine, and
Friday,
I think
Friday.
Doing great.
He scored. He was the best.
Fix
player
your
on the-
words.
He was on the best player on the ice for the Sabres on Friday.
Admit it.
and
He was the best player.
I
on
will
the
say
ice for the Sabres
tonight there was some like weird things that didn't like backfire. There was one time where I'm seeing him go across from his right defenseman spot, going to the left of the ice to go after someone, and I'm like, okay, Philly's not going to take advantage of that. All right, they suck. And he just goes and wallops someone on the blue line, and I'm like, all right, they really just let that happen. Okay, cool. However, after the first 3 games, I have a new target. And I hate this. It's Brandon Montour.
Oh, he's been awful.
Good dog water.
When that trade happened, I was all in favor for it. I loved the trade. I was like, okay, Brandon Montour, he's probably just someone who got screwed by Randy Carlyle, like everyone else gets screwed over by Randy Carlyle after their cup season win in Anaheim. And part 2 of Randy Carlyle is never a good thing. However, Brandon Montour has shown that he is actually part of the problem, and I don't know, like, what do you do with him at this point? He's a problem with having paired with Dahlin. He's definitely a problem when you have an aggressive Ristolainen out there. And it just, I don't know. He's kind of looking like the guy that needs to be healthy scratched sooner than later for Will Borgen or something of the sort.
So a lot of the shifts tonight were the Eichel line was dominating zone pressure. He was out there with Dahlin, I think, every time. So
Okay, I'm looking at the stats right now.
bad defensively, though.
Yeah.
Piss poor defensively.
Piss poor defensively.
I'm looking at the stats right now, and this one's fun. Do you know how many hits Ristolainen was credited with tonight?
7. It looked like that was that kind of night for him.
You were close.
6?
11.
8.
Wow.
No, he was like, again, I saw him literally go from his right D spot across the ice and just wallop someone, and he totally got away with it scot-free, like, not penalty-wise, but like tactically. That was just a dumb thing to do, but then they just didn't take advantage of it. I'm like, okay, that's that kind of night for you, whatever.
And can we already lay off the goaltending in Buffalo? Like, Carter Hutton did not play well on Thursday, but that was not on him by any stretch.
They couldn't
And then-
complete a pass.
And then complaining about Allmark on Friday just makes you look stupid.
I mean,
I do not care that Allmark gave up 2 goals on 21 shots. If you are pointing at Allmark as the reason that the Buffalo Sabres lost when they were 0 for 5 on the power play, and it's not like he got shellacked back there, far from it. As a matter of fact, Allmark made some 10-bell saves to keep it a 1-goal game and to keep the game close throughout. I'm just so tired of banging the goaltending drum.
well, even
It's been years since Leonard was here, and that was never the issue.
Hutton on Thursday. I mean, you had Stahl turn it right over in the slot, no chance. And I forget there was another very similar one. I mean, there was one I can see that he wants back, Brister from outside. I forget who scored it, but it was early in the second. But other than that, I mean, it just, there was a lot of times he wasn't given any chance.
Hey.
How many times do we see that? A Sabres goaltender hung out to dry. There were times when Leonard would give up 2 goals, both backdoor tap-ins, and they'd lose 3-2, and people are mad that he didn't stop. Like, I don't care what goaltender you are. If there is a player on the back door that is not accounted for, they are going to sink the 3-foot birdie putt, and it doesn't matter who's back there because
Let's think about something, though, with the Sabres and goaltending in their history. I mean, you had the greatest goaltender of all time in your net, and then that was succeeded by Marty Biron, who was more than adequate, and then Ryan Miller takes over, and he is sensational, too. Even the tank season, you had above average goaltending, and it was a problem when you're trying to lose games.
Enroth played well here.
So much so, they had to trade away Enroth. They traded away Neuwirth. They traded away everything. They brought in Anders Lindback, who was awful, and he was at least above replacement level. That's the goaltending they've been used to. And then Robin Leonard comes in, and Leonard's better than people said he was. They're so used to, like, Sabres fans in general, over the last, let's say, 30 years, you've had probably the pinnacle of goaltending in this league over the years.
Yeah, these same fans still say
And
Ryan Miller
now-
sucked. How many?
And now,
Right, Mr. Softy.
Yeah,
was
Mr.
his nickname.
Softy, which he wasn't. Like,
and now, again, you had the greatest goaltender of all time. You're spoiled at that point. I think that the biggest thing is that they're so used to excellence that anything that is below average is the death of the team. And let's not go ahead and mince anything. Last year, the two of them were not good.
I have a confession here. You know,
Omark was better last year, but like
And even that
overall, the
was-
goaltending was.
I have
not
a confession.
that good.
These people that blame goaltending might have a point because if the Sabres never gave up a goal, if the goalie saved every puck every time, they'd win. So I mean, I'll give them that much. If you know,
Holy crap,
you're
what a
right.
thought.
You're
What a
right.
strategy.
Yeah. You know what? If goaltending was better, then the Sabres would never lose a game. You're right, 100%.
Okay,
I'm not.
so
that's not at you, Derek.
No, I
That's
know.
to the haters.
Snark aside, last year they were below average as a tandem.
But you know what Allmark's numbers
Allmark
were
was
last year?
great last year.
I said-
915 and 2.4 on a terrible team.
Just
Like,
remember, I said the words as a tandem.
Yeah, well, Hutton did
That-
his part for the middle of the season,
Yes.
literally giving up
Hutton
5
was
goals a
stuck
game.
until Allmark got hurt. Then,
Yes,
Yeah.
but again, as a tandem, they were below
And you
average.
cannot forget that 10-game winning streak to open the season or whatever it was. Hutton played like 7 of those games.
I know.
So there was times when he was pulling the rope and times when Allmark
Again.
was pulling the rope and then times when Jonas
And then
Johansson
in-
dropped the rope.
Yeah, again, but as a tandem last year, they weren't great.
No.
They weren't good.
I still continue to go back to Justin, though, with Johansson in that Anaheim game, right? He got
Oof.
shelled the first 10 minutes of that game. He got absolutely shelled, and then he saved every single puck after that. The problem was they were down 3-0 before Doug Allen was done singing the anthem, and then they couldn't come back from it because they weren't talented enough in front of him. But, yeah, there were so many games like that where a timely save would have been big from Hutton or Johansson, and it just didn't
And they
come.
win that game in the playoffs.
Yeah,
Correct. Any
Yeah,
one
that's
of them.
right.
Pick
Any one of them.
Pick one.
but if they're able to steady up what they did compared to last year, this team will be at least entertaining and enjoyable to watch. I don't know if they make the playoffs in this stacked division, but you know what? This is how low the bar is for me. It just needs to be fun to watch them.
I don't think the division's that stacked. And if you could hear me, you hear me out on it, huh?
It's good.
It's
There's
good.
one bad team in the division.
I think it's kind
if
of
you consider the
overrated.
Sabres a bad team, then there's 2 bad teams in the division.
The Devils
Yeah,
aren't good.
That's
No,
it.
the Devils are ass.
Sabres is shit pumped the Flyers. Who shit pumped? The
Penguins
Penguins.
twice.
Half the Penguins are in wheelchairs. They're not going to survive the whole season. This is a shotgun season. They're not going
And
to
you
make
cannot
it.
forget the Penguins
I
are
don't
backstopped by
think the
Tristan
Islanders-
Jarry right now.
I don't think the Islanders are that good. They're not
I
saying they're
think
not
they
good.
are.
I don't think they're that good.
They were an Eastern Conference finalist last year. I don't think they're that consistently good, but they are a very steady playoff contender.
The Islanders are never going to let what happened to the Flyers happen to them. The Islanders are always they play tight defensively. They just don't make mistakes. They don't give you anything.
I
for
don't
free.
think they're that good.
And we've got Boston in our division. You know,
And
that's
they're
a problem.
also old as dirt, and how are they going to survive this really short, condensed season? That's a huge factor. There's a lot of back-to-back games and a lot of old bodies. The Caps are really old. The Penguins are really old. The Bruins are really old. So probably the 3 quote-unquote best teams in the division. Everyone's saying the best teams.
Caps are fine.
Well, the Bruins haven't scored a goal in 3 games at 5-on-5, so they're having some issues.
They're having some
So-
issues, but
The Sabres are a young team with a lot of offense.
let's just look at the talent levels of those teams, and that is going to, in a short season, usually play more of a factor.
If they can stay healthy, they're all old as dirt. Playing back-to-back in this league every night. Almost every series is a back-to-back.
Talent,
Almost.
talent still shines
All right.
in short seasons.
Okay.
So I'm not going to
Until it's a 35-year-old hockey players.
try to. You're not going to convince me that the Sabres are better than 4 teams on this East Division.
But I just go
You're
right
not.
back to
I'm not
the-
going to try because I know you
I just go right back to, though, the fact that these good teams have to play each other a night in and a night out, and it's not like Boston and Washington have to play each other 8 times.
I'm
And
not
if they-
expecting
and if
the
they split
Sabres to
those
shit
games-
pump a team like this for another 5-6 games.
No, but I think
Like,
that the Sabres will be in the mix because no one's going to run away with this.
All I'm
division.
and
saying-
that's
all
what
I'm
I'm
trying-
saying is they have to be enjoyable this year. Being in a standings chase, that's enjoyable.
I'll tell you, the Sabres have more talent than 4 teams this division easily. You tell you I'm wrong, I'm a fucking pea.
I think that's
shoes.
right. I think that they're more talented than the Islanders. They're more talented
And
than
the Flyers.
No,
They're more talented than the Islanders and the Fly. Like
The Flyers have
you're
a
making
lot
2
of
different
talent.
arguments here.
Yes.
All right, Claude Giroux and Voracek are old as dirt.
And then Provorov, and
Konechny, I think it's kind of
Katserian,
overrated.
and
Just very
Konechny,
fast.
And Carter Hart. And,
Yeah, they
I mean,
looked great tonight.
Joel
They looked
Farabee.
really good
one
tonight.
game. You'll pick one game
Every-
out and be like,
every
oh, well,
team
the
gets-
Sabres won a game. They're better
were
than the team.
Every
They
team
Invincible
gets
tonight.
speed bagged in a night. It
Invincible
happens. Every team has that night.
Did you kind of
Sabres
cringe
have-
at the Islanders? I think
Sabres
they are
have more
talented
top
than
end
the
talent
Islanders.
than
I think
No.
the Islanders are also more talented. That doesn't mean the Islanders are going to be better than the Sabres in the regular season standings are done.
The Islanders are a better
You're
team.
also worried about the fucking
They're
Bills
better
in a
team than
fucking
more
snow
talented.
game.
They're not more talented, but they're a better
Didn't even
team.
Oh, I
We
think we
have no-
proved
we
that
have
the
no-
wind would have killed Josh Allen in a snow game, by the way, because he couldn't complete a fucking pass downfield.
Yeah.
You couldn't complete a pass downfield in a game that didn't have snow. It just had wind. But
We can't talk about snow because it didn't snow. So
We'll fight about this all
true.
season. I don't think I'll tell you, I'll give you 4 teams. I think the Sabres have more talent than easily. Come on,
You started at the wrong end. There are teams in the division the Sabres are more talented than Philly and the Islanders.
New Jersey,
Philly-
number 1.
I don't respect Philly at
Got
all.
it.
I don't respect Philly as a hockey team, but I don't think they're that good. I think they're super overrated.
Oh, man, when
We'll find out.
You're a Flyers fan.
The puck's going to drop Tuesday. The Flyers are going to come back motivated and kill Buffalo Tuesday night.
Still, I don't think they're that good. I don't know.
if you lose 2-2 to Buffalo, like if you lose 2 out of 2 to Buffalo, then maybe we could start having
and
some
even
conversations. But talent-wise, on paper, Philly's more balanced.
We really progressed quickly from nothing matters for the first because it's going to be sloppy hockey to the Sabres beat Philadelphia on a Monday, so they're better than
That's
them.
not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying they're great. I'm saying they have more talent than at least 4
Not
teams.
even a little bit.
No. I got it.
You're both fucked.
No, Jeff said the right thing.
Eichel and Hall are great,
You're going the wrong way if you're going to argue this with me about talent on the rosters.
What's a better top line right now than Eichel, Hall, Reinhart? That's not Ovechkin, Backstrom, and whoever else.
Pasternak when he's back for the
And
Bruins.
Oshie.
Yeah, that one's right. Marchand,
Kucherov for the Lightning when he's
Bergeron,
back.
Pastas.
They're not.
You just said
I
Bruins
know.
have a score of 5-5.
usually-
They usually are.
Pasta's
Yes.
still out. So
Huh?
Pasta's still out.
Yeah.
But Marchand, Bergeron, and Pasternak might be the only top.
Here's
line
how much
left.
I'm on the Bills thing right now. I don't even know all the teams that are in the Sabres division.
Okay, so it's
The sub-stack division. I don't know who's in the fucking division.
New York, New Jersey, Buffalo, Philly, Pittsburgh, Washington. Why am I running out of steam already?
Well, it's the traditional Metro
Correct.
plus Buffalo,
And
Boston.
Boston
Is that it?
might be.
There's 8 teams there.
So it's
Both
Buffalo,
New York teams.
Boston, Washington, New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
There you go. 8. I think Pittsburgh's more talented.
I don't see that. Now,
No.
there's the other side of that. I don't know that Pittsburgh is more talented.
Evan
than Buffalo at this
Rodriguez
point.
is skating with Sidney Crosby every shift.
Well,
you shut up, Derek.
Hey, but they've always done that. with
It's
some
still
guys.
Sidney Crosby.
I know.
They've always played one.
And if
random
you
guy
say
with him.
Sidney Crosby's old as dirt, so it doesn't matter, I'm just going to go ahead and just preemptively
Crosby's
flip
not
you
the
off.
anti-
It's not the
talent.
same Sidney Crosby.
Sidney Crosby's
I'm
not
flipping
the
you off
anti-talent.
right
really
No,
good.
but
the
flipping
first
you
two
off.
games.
I'm flipping
Man.
you off.
Hey,
I'm agreeing with that.
Pick the
Listen
fuck out
to
of
me.
there.
Sidney Crosby is not the reason that Pittsburgh
Yeah,
is more
no.
talented than Buffalo. It's the rest of the
yeah,
roster.
I don't think Pittsburgh is
that
bad.
defensive roster is a joke.
No,
they are
they-
so bad defensively, and their goaltenders are Tristan
They
Jarry and
willingly
Casey
signed
DeSmith.
and traded for Cody
Nope.
Ceci and Mike Matheson.
Correct.
They
and
did
give
lose
them
Jack
minutes,
Johnson, though.
important minutes on that team.
And then he went to the Rangers, who are also in the Sabres division. He's playing with Tony D'Angelo and maybe the worst D pair in the NHL.
And
Yeah,
the Rangers may not
seriously.
be more talented than Buffalo yet because they're super young.
They're super
Like,
young, but
they're a good team.
on
but
paper,
like Lafreniere and Capo are good, but they're so young still.
on paper, I do like them. I think that talent-wise, you
I don't
have an
think they pull
argument.
it together this year, though.
Talent-wise, you have
I like
an
the
argument
Rangers a
with.
lot in 2 or 3 years.
Talent-wise, you have an argument with me with the Islanders, but they're just a better team, so they're kind of out of the conversation.
Because of Trotz.
Yes. Devils, obviously, you can clear that hurdle very easily. And Philly, no. You can't go ahead and convince me
The
of
way that I
one.
look at-
Boston, no.
Justin, you mentioned all the back-to-backs and how everyone's playing each other. The reason that may benefit Buffalo is because it's going to be hard for a team to actually get separation in the middle of the standings. If Buffalo plays even half as well as they played tonight, I mean, I think tonight is about as good of a game as they're going to play all season.
They're going to be in 4th or 5th.
Yeah.
They're going to be in 4th.
But all you
5th, or
have to do
6th.
is get yourself to a position with a couple weeks left in the season where you just have to win your games
And
because
then-
you're playing all the teams ahead of you.
And then Crosby gets hurt, or Ovechkin. Ovechkin never gets hurt. That's a stupid example.
He's built in a Russian lab.
but all of a sudden,
Russian
like-
machine never breaks.
Right, but then all of a sudden, like you have an injury to Barzal or something, and then the division is out there for the
Cats got to
taking.
rely on 2 rookie goalies.
They also have one of the best forward cores in the league. The second line is centered by Evgeny Kuznetsov.
Right, It's 'cause
They're
that's,
scary.
Roshi and Vrana.
Yeah.
they're a
They're
good team.
scary.
They're a great team, but
They
Like, can you convince me the Sabres can make the playoffs? It's not out of the question by
of
any
course
means.
it never is in the NHL. It never is because
Especially this
I
year.
didn't say the Sabres were trash. I just said that they're probably not going to be a top 4 of the division team.
and I didn't say they're great. I just said the division is overrated. You everyone's saying it's dead. I just think it's kind of overrated.
time will tell. I don't think it's overrated. I think this is a buzzsaw division. I think this is murderers.
I think it's properly rated.
You are
and
not
it's-
going to get 2 points against the team unless you earn it. They absolutely earned it tonight, but I don't think there's any.
They earned 4 points today. They can only give them 2.
Right.
To call the series now, give them all of them.
Yep.
Yeah, again, if they're entertaining and they're in a standings chase at the end of the season, I'm cool with that. I am more than for that. And that means that you're not trading Taylor Hall at the deadline, but it does mean that you're trying to convince him that you can stay. Because if you're competing and you're in 5th place in the Buzzsaw division, for example, that's probably enough incentive to say, hey, T Hall, you want to stay and make this a real thing?
Yep.
Because maybe things go back to normal next year and we get wild cards again, and you can definitely help us get there.
Yep.
So, again, I don't know if they're capable of being a top 4 team in this division just because of the pure talent that is around it. I do think that they are competitive or capable of being competitive. My bar is low this year with them.
It has to be.
Fuck off. The Bills are heading to the Super Bowl.
And quickly, for anyone who has it, I'm curious for at least a couple of you. 1 up, 1 down. Players who have performed at least as good or better than you expected so far. And I know we talked about Montour, and I don't want everyone to pile on Montour. Maybe he's the easy answer. Are there other players who have kind of been a down arrow for you so far? Again, it's 3 games, it's early, but have there been noticeable players? And maybe I'll just go first here. I've loved Tage Thompson so far. He hasn't gotten the results, but I feel like he's been around. He's created a lot of good chances. You mentioned the back-to-back rapid-fire shots in the crest of Samsonov's jersey. I think he's going to, sooner than later, he's going to have a stretch where he gets 5 goals in 6 games. He's playing like it.
He had a great chance tonight in a really tough angle from behind the net, and Hart literally got lucky. He didn't even move. It just went right into his glove, and it wasn't even a shot that he could aim. Right. You go high or low with it, and it was still rising, and it just happened right in the Hart's glove. But guy could shoot from any angle. That's one of his best skills.
Well, with a reach like that, it opens up so many additional angles that you can create that Nathan Gerby couldn't take that shot from behind the net. No offense to Nate. Because the reach. Tage Thompson, when he's healthy,
6'7" to 5'4". Yeah, he's not taking that shot.
And let me tell you, 5'4" is being generous.
I know.
To Nate, generous. I don't have a massive down. I mean Montour is the easy one. It's not even Skinner, because I think Skinner's played well in limited minutes. He hasn't scored. He looked like he was trying to play himself up to the top 6 on Saturday. He skated his fucking ass off.
Even tonight, he was looking very good.
Skinner's my up.
Yeah. Well, I'll go ahead.
Skinner's my up because I think everyone's bitching about what line he's on. I think it's been masterful coaching by Ralph Kruger, because he's pulled it out of him. He's like, this is what you can do. And now I want you to do it every night. And that's what you do as a coach. He's like, this is now you see him do it. This is now my expectation. Nothing lower than this. It's acceptable. And you saw it again tonight. He was gangbusters tonight, and the second game of the Caps.
2 assists. He did get an assist on both of Lazar's goals.
Yeah, and also if I could do another plus, do you care? Do you guys
no,
care?
go ahead. Sure.
I think Victor Olofsson has been really great, 5-on-5, adjusting to new line mates each night so far. All 3 games has found a new line mate as a wing. But my downer has got to be Riley Sheehan. I've seen more useful flat tires than this fucking guy.
He did have a crazy assist tonight.
He did.
Than that,
yeah. Every now and then a blind squirrel finds a nut.
Yeah, I don't know that I think of.
I think Steve could have fallen into that assist.
Funny thing is, with
between his good word choice, because it's 100% accurate.
I said that we're falling into that assist.
Took me a second.
I ate shit about 7 times during the 11-day power play.
On the floor, not ice.
In my defense, that floor was slipperier than ice.
That was raining, yeah.
You were in the dry end.
With Sheehan,
couldn't fool me.
Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
With Sheehan, the thing with him is I forget which game it was which Washington game it was I was watching. He just did not seem in it. He just seemed way behind the play. He didn't seem to be didn't seem to be able to keep up with the play, or didn't seem to be making the effort to catch up with the play or something. He just seemed way behind.
Always he's way behind.
My one up is Cousins. Although he hasn't really made the score sheet yet, he's looked so good. There were people complaining about Cousins that they needed to be sent down after Friday's game. I thought his line was the best line on the ice. He had so much energy. He brings energy. He got promoted to the second line tonight, skated with Stahl and who else? Olofsson. And so Cousins is my up. My down is McCabe. They give this guy a letter, and I am tired of the bad breakout passes. I don't know what he necessarily brings offensively. I've never been a fan of his. I've never been high on McCabe. I was excited when he came out after the experience that he gave us in World Juniors when he was so good. And my biggest memories of Jake McCabe are breakout passes from behind his own net getting intercepted in the slot. And I just don't know that I've seen, when you talk about, Justin, the way they couldn't get out of their own end on Thursdays, the number of times that I see McCabe with the puck on his stick and cringe. I mean, I know it's not necessarily related, but I wish a guy that was wearing a letter on his sweater was more trustworthy in his own end with the puck.
And he may very well be a great leader and a great teammate, but that does not make him a good defenseman. And he is, and I think we talked about Risto. Risto's been okay. If it wasn't Risto, we would be probably lauding his play more. We're just conditioned to be skeptical about what he does. McCabe does all the bad things that Risto does and none of the good.
I wasn't going to be that hard on him, but I can't disagree.
I mean, legitimately, like, I know we're playing him partially because there's not like a huge depth of defenseman behind him. I don't know that there's a single thing that I trust Jake McCabe to do.
He doesn't play power play.
Hang on. Jake McCabe does plenty of the things that everyone seems to think that Rasmus Ristolainen does, good or bad. The people that laud Ristolainen for his toughness and his grit and his tenacity, Jake McCabe is doing that more than half the time anyway. And it's not Ristolainen. McCabe's the one chucking nucks before Ristolainen will ever even think about it.
I guess I don't care if McCabe's got a guy tied up in the corner when the puck's in front of the net.
I know. I'm just saying that it's usually like the two of them are kind of hand in hand on a lot of things. Bad breakout passes, the grit and tenacity between the two of them. Neither of them should be a first pairing defenseman, yet here we are with both of them. And the minute usage, we say it with Rasmus Ristolainen, you sure as shit better be saying it about Jake McCabe. Why the hell is he getting first line minutes?
He's probably their best stay-at-home defenseman.
And that's and that
maybe he should try staying home.
He's not he's not offensively gifted.
Just not driving in. Yeah.
He's not offensively gifted. He's a stay-at-home defender. I don't know.
But
Every time a defensive player gets scored on, it's
offense.
like he's the worst player in the world. But when the guy's out there to defend, he's gonna get scored.
I don't like McCabe. I don't like
He's not
McCabe.
saying he's great.
I don't
but
like
it's
McCabe with the puck.
I don't think it's that bad.
I don't like McCabe with the puck.
Yeah,
on
he's
his
not an
stick.
offensive player.
Right.
He's
The
not an
problem is
offensive
he gets
player.
the puck on his stick in his own end, and every defenseman does.
Yeah.
And it's just incompetence to get it out of the zone with a. I'm not even talking a crisp breakout pass. Something that doesn't get intercepted would be dandy by me.
All right, next.
I don't really have one specific down, but I do want to kind of call out the whole team, but they seem to be getting this together, is the fact that they couldn't break out the first game of the season, but they seem to be getting that together, so that would mostly fall on the defense. I mean, a lot, McCabe, Ristolainen, all the defense, and even Stahl with that horrid pass against Washington. Up is kind of an obvious one, but I mean, I think he's doing a little more than even I expected, and it's Taylor Hall. He just seems to be clicking so well, so quickly on a line with Eichel. I mean, his goal was just a great read of the defense. He sneaks in behind everybody just for that backdoor pass, and he's got 5 assists on the season. And I've been kind of thinking this season is going to kind of favor good teams that have more cohesion from last season. So less turnover, I think, is going to benefit these teams without the benefit of training camp. But it's amazing the way that he's so far seems to fit in with this team.
And that's something that I said earlier, that talent is going to play out in shorter seasons. Having Taylor Hall is going to help them. Now,
I mean, if you get Taylor Hall from, I'm not expecting Taylor Hall from the MVP season, but if you get closer to Taylor Hall,
if you get
from
normal
New Jersey,
Taylor Hall,
yeah. I mean, last year was a bit of a down year for him. Not terrible by any means, but I mean,
but that was New Jersey more than Taylor Hall.
True, but is it the more you get from him compared to? I mean, you're playing him on the top line. If he comes here and is immediately, I mean, he made some great plays tonight. If he is a big factor, that's the easiest way for the Sabres to be
up in the standings.
Yeah, because he and Jack are going to be the guys. They're getting the number 1 power play minutes. Obviously, they're on the top line. They're playing together a ton. If those two guys combine and score a bunch of goals, you're going to win yourself some hockey games.
If your top line gives you 3 goals a night, you've got a really good chance of winning, regardless of who you're playing.
They both had 3 assists tonight. Jack and Taylor Hall had 3 assists each tonight.
I know we talked about that one he made to Reinhardt was nasty.
Yeah. And so I've made my praises with Taylor Hall. I'll just go ahead and I'm not going to repeat too much of this, but my down is Brandon Montour. Because for everything that we just shit on Jake McCabe for, it's not even close to Brandon Montour and what has been happening there. He is supposed to have come in as a swift skating defenseman, and the problem is Jason Botterill acquired him for Phil Housley. Phil Housley's gone. And Montour with Ralph Kruger, let's forget about what he's done to Dahlin. Let's go ahead and see that Brandon Montour's style definitely does not play with what Ralph Kruger is coaching. But my up, you may have shit on Riley Sheehan just now there, Justin, but I'm going to say the entire fourth line, quote unquote, fourth line. Jeff Skinner is proving once again, as he has done for a majority of his career, doesn't really give a damn as to what players he's playing with. He's going to be able to bring something to you every night. And in this Philly game, you saw him creating chances by himself because he's so damn used to having to have done that in the past in Carolina. He wasn't often with Eric Stahl. Derek Ryan was one of his centers for a season that he had a 30-goal a year, okay? Skinner and Curtis Lazar in particular have shined, and Riley Sheehan will be the first player to go off when Kyle Oposo is healthy. And if you've got a banger like Oposo and these two are already creating turnovers by themselves, you're going to have another fun fourth line when it comes to being able to deal with puck possession, but now you have a scorer on it. The Sabres actually managed to successfully churn out that fourth line and the entire bottom six. And oh hey, they already kind of look better at it with the depth. Is that a surprise that you yeet Larson, Gergensons by injury, and Oposo's not playing right now from injury as well, and the fourth line suddenly looks competent? No, not a surprise at all. Because the bottom six is supposed to churn. And yet for 4 years, we got the same stupid ass fourth fucking line. I don't want to hear another thing about Johan Larsson. Oh no, Johan Larsson went to the Coyotes. Oh me, oh my, who gives a fuck? Zemgus Girgensons is hurt for the year. Oh shit.
Yeah, I mean, their fourth line's only good because Girgensons hurt himself out of it.
Yeah.
They were going to go with the same thing.
They were going to go literally with insanity again. Yeah, the log line. Their charts looked amazing last year. Yay! All they did was pass it back to the point for a point shot usually.
That's what fourth lines do!
No, fourth lines.
They're not going to fucking score goals.
No, fourth lines that are competent and good teams.
Damn.
Fourth lines are actually able to create chances for themselves. Unlike Zemgus Girgensons falling his way into a career high 15% shot percentage for the second time in his career when he's normally a 4% shot. He was lucky last year.
That line was the best.
He was lucky last year
for most of the season.
Yeah,
fucking crazy.
What does that fucking say? The only thing they were the best at last year on that team was being blue in charts consistently. That's it. All they did was cycle it back to the point for more or less harmless point shots.
That's what fourth lines do.
Good fourth lines don't do that.
Rebounds.
Good fourth lines don't have to do that.
They defend the, but
maybe they
defend the other team's best players.
Yeah,
and
they have
goals.
Yeah, they have a $9 million man on the left wing right now, and that's probably one of the reasons they look better. No.
Oh, I'm talking about Skinner.
I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about this fourth line. Yeah, they're gonna have $15 million on that fourth line when Oposo comes back. But Skinner and Lazar, in the end, have been so much more of an upgrade to the bottom six.
I love Lazar.
Lazar has been
twins too.
Awesome. Yeah, they look very similar. But I'm just sick of all of the hype that we had with Johan Larsson, and now you're seeing, hey, Curtis Lazar was more than capable of being that fourth line center for you. It's okay to churn out and let someone go. And like you said, Jeff, the fact that Girgensons had to get himself hurt, that is unfortunate, but Zemgus Girgensons is the most relatable professional athlete to me. Why? Because I fall down all the fucking time.
I mean, this is a pro Johan Larsson podcast, and I will take no Johan Larsson slander on it. But I think it was good for him and good for the team that both of them got a change. Because we talked about Paul Hamilton last year. Some of these guys just needed a chance to go do something else.
Exactly.
Larsson was just stuck in the same old. It wasn't his fault. He did what he was asked to do. He was great defensively.
But they were literally going to trot out the same.
But yeah, they were content to put out the same group of forwards year after year,
and it just never works. Of course, it never works. So yeah, that is the time to try out more players with different ice time. And Riley Sheehan, yeah, I think that was a weird signing, but if they shuffle things around and the bottom six looks more competent this year, I mean, Tobias Reeder scored in the first game. I never would have thought that the guy that I said, oh, who's number 13? We don't have Jimmy Vesey anymore, would score a goal in his first game as a Sabre. But he did. Part of that was the presence of having Dylan Cousins on your line. But it looks like overall the depth of this team looks better. And by God, that is something that we needed.
Sabres are 1-2. The 1 feels a lot more significant than the 2 because the 1 was a lot more.
They scored more goals in the 1
than either of the 2 losses were.
They scored more goals in the 1 than they did the 2.
Yeah, I mean
the Sabres outscored the Ravens.
Sabres doubled up the Ravens.
That's the total headline for everything.
The Sabres scored a touchdown.
Well, in traditional windy Buffalo fashion, they missed the extra point. But there's always tomorrow when they look to put up 7 against the Flyers with that vaunted top line. I'm still waiting for that game where Taylor Hall has looked very good. I still don't think he's quite settled in, though. I don't think he's quite gotten to
because he hasn't had to play with he has never played with Jack Eichel, and it just that part is going to need to take some time because Eichel to me somehow hasn't looked as dominant as usual. That's going to come back within like a couple of weeks.
I think Jack's playing excellent hockey. He just doesn't feel like he has to do everything right now.
I'm just saying dominant. Like he doesn't look as dominant as he should.
He looked great tonight.
But I would say just give him a couple weeks. The fact that he's passing instead of ripping that shot again there, like he'll be back at it. And he'll be doing his thing again. He
should have shot there. I'm just saying in general, I think this is the first time in his career that he knows that he has a guy in his line who is as capable of creating with the puck as he is.
Oh my God.
He doesn't feel like he has to have the puck all the time. That's part of why Jack has had so many highlight plays, stick handling and phone boosts, is because he had the puck on his stick a disproportionately high amount of the time when the Sabres had the puck. And
they have a puck carrier along with him. It's not just that Hall is a great player and an elite player. They have a zone entry ace as well as Eichel. And that, like I saw Hall with one of these, granted, it didn't really result into much of anything, but Hall enters the zone, puts a nice feed to Reinhart cross ice, and he had to duck out of 2 defenders' ways to get over the blue line, finds Reinhart, and the shot is stopped, but that's what Taylor Hall does on a nightly basis, and that's what Jack Eichel can do on a nightly basis, and now you have 2 of them on the same line, let alone on the same team.
And I think Jack has been as good as ever in these 3 games. It's just we don't notice him quite as much because he's playing off the puck, and it's something we're not used to seeing.
We're not used to that at all.
So it looks like Jack is not playing as well, but in reality, he's actually gotten to relax a little bit. Maybe not relax, but play off the puck and create in space. I think we're going to see games where it's going to feel weird when Jack is the guy tapping a puck home on the back door versus creating everything for Olofsson or Reinhart to tap that puck
or himself,
or for himself even.
He's already quietly got 6 assists.
Yeah.
Just
if you can quietly have 6 assists.
That's what I'm saying. Like it doesn't seem like he's dominant because I haven't seen him rifle off those highlight worthy plays. And it's just I still think that it's just give him a couple weeks. Yeah. He hasn't played in 10 months.
And those plays will still happen, but I don't think you need them. I would rather have this Jack Eichel, who's putting up 2 points a game, than a Jack Eichel who makes a crazy good goal in a 4-1 Sabres loss.
At least Taylor Hall played in the playoffs. Like, he still has more ice time recently than Jack does. Mm-hmm. Jack legitimately has not played hockey on the highest of levels in 10 months. So I legitimately think just give him a couple weeks and he's going to be back to creating monstrous highlights, not just like quietly having 6 assists. He's going to be back to terrorizing again.
Time for the league in points.
Nice.
And again, he's doing that under the radar.
What's the least games? Him and Taylor Hall. Least games played.
Yep.
Tied for the top.
Eichel has 6 assists. Hall has a goal and 5 assists.
Yeah, but Eichel hasn't scored yet. Trade him.
Yeah, he hasn't scored 4 goals yet. Fuck,
of course, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying
he looks lazy. Body attitude suck.
I'm just body language, you know.
Yeah, I'm just saying that it looks weird, and maybe it's again the fact that he's playing off the puck because you have Taylor Hall, but I expect we'll have more of that Jack creativity again soon.
They make a fair point of not playing at a high level for 10 months. That's a valid point. He shot more tonight. He looked good tonight. He looked really strong tonight.
Let's go ahead and I'm just going to put it on the most positive spin possible with this. The guy who's tied for the league lead in points after 3 games and quietly doing so is going to be better in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I think it's true of both him and Hall, honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
That's frightening.
now that you've seen what the Hall, Eichel, Reinhart line can do, hemming the team into zone for
So
over a minute multiple times.
I know that this room is cool with Ralph. Ralph, don't break them up.
I don't think he will.
I also
don't
don't,
think he can.
I also
Just
know
don't
looked
do
great.
it.
I don't know that it matters who that third guy is.
No,
I
it
think
does.
I think it works with Olsen. I think it works with Tage. I think it
think
works
it-
with Skinner. It works great with Reinhardt
You
because
were
Reinhardt
saying-
doesn't play well with other guys sometimes.
You were
but-
saying Tage was your arrow up, and I had to disagree because there's times where he really does look like he doesn't belong. And
I mean, you
he
talk about
still
not
has
playing competitive top of hockey in 10 months.
No,
Tage
he
missed
was-
the entire last season.
Yeah,
this
he's
is
been-
Tage's,
he's been off
this
even
is Tage
longer.
with almost 2 years out of the sport.
I will say though that like you're getting those bad habits back. The toe drag is constant again, and you need to be able to cut that shit out. And there's a reason he was moved off that line, and it's just
They weren't
now
producing.
he's not producing, and therefore
They weren't producing.
But he is part of that. Reinhardt is so cerebral that you have 2 puck carriers. It does matter. Because he will be in the spots where Taylor Hall is going to go ahead and cut through the middle and float a pass it through the crease.
I just think 3 of the guys didn't know each other. Eichel's never played with Tage Thompson. Eichel's never played with Taylor Hall, and they're all on the first line in the very first game of the season. They took him off the line at the end of the first period of the Caps game. I don't think it was that bad.
I
would
do also
say
think we're
it's-
slightly overrating the scoring output of that top line because 2 of those goals came on the power play today.
Yes, but I do
They,
still
they
have
did
to
a good
think-
job with zone possession. There was a couple of times today where Philly couldn't get the puck out of the zone.
My biggest fear of that line, I think I said a couple weeks ago that like who's going to shoot it. There was times in that there was literally mid 20 seconds they kept the puck in the zone.
Cycle the puck, no one shooting.
They passed up shots like 3,
Well,
4
there's no
times.
fans in the crowd yelling at them to shoot. They don't know
Yeah,
what to do
they
anymore.
don't know what to do. They're confused. That's my biggest concern about that line.
I still think that Reinhardt
Olsen.
matters because he's smart. He knows where to be. And he is a player that has played off the puck so much. Like we're talking about how we're not used to seeing Jack playing off the puck. Reinhardt, that's his gig.
See,
That's his jam.
If they roll this line, someone's got to be a shooter.
Someone's
And
gotta
I
be a
saw
sh-
tonight they were all just looking to cycle. Every single one of them.
And again, this is where Reinhardt, I think, matters because he's going to be the guy that gets to the front of the net. He is the guy that knows where to be. And yes, he's very creative with the puck on his stick when it comes to passing options, but he's also not going to be afraid to be the person to get in front of the net and tap it in. And with those 2, those chances are always going to be there. I think that Reinhardt playing with those top 2 with Eichel and Hall, there is no way I want them separated right now. I don't care if there's not a shoot first person on that team. The way that those 2 create, Reinhardt will be there to finish the deal.
Well, I mean,
I
they're
can
definitely
rely-
not breaking them up after tonight. Those
I
guys
can-
are playing together until further notice.
I can rely on Sam Reinhart knowing better than Tage Thompson, and that's something with inexperience, but that's Sam Reinhart's strength.
I like the idea of Tage Thompson just creating room out there for those 2 guys.
I agree. It's just you know what Sam Reinhart is going to do, and you know where he's going to be. And players like that for Eichel and Hall are a godsend. Don't break them up, Ralph.
I think you're going to see about 7 different guys play on that wing.
I will be irritated at that.
Oh, I know. I'm just letting you know in advance it's going to happen. And
Especially with Cousins being on that second line, they're being productive right now. Like they're getting chances, they're creating. I think don't break them up.
it's also it's so early.
It is.
They played a wire to wire, almost picture perfect 60 minutes tonight. I want to see it again tomorrow. I want to see it again the time after that.
Of course.
This is the first game they've really rolled with a lot of these lines. Let's not get too hyperbolic. The first line was good tonight. I still don't know that to Justin's point, I kind of like the concept of Olofsson as that third guy in the top line because that is a guy, either of those, Hall or Eichel puts the puck on a platter, Olofsson will shoot the puck. He has no qualms about shooting that puck.
Oh yeah, true.
And whether it's one of those guys or Tage, I think, like you mentioned, Justin, it's just Tage and Hall and Jack. None of them had really ever played together. First, with like a week and a half of practice against a good Capitals team with very little turnover, that's a lot to ask. I wouldn't be surprised if later in the season, if they went back to that, it worked better.
Yes, but I would say for now, if you want some dubs, get the guy with the high hockey IQ with those 2.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be at least what they're rolling with for now. And they're not going to change it as long as they keep playing like they did tonight.
All right, we're at about 2 hours, so we should wrap this up. It's the longest,
Holy shit.
longest episode yet.
That's probably not true, sadly.
Might be pretty close.
Yeah?
I don't think
New record.
it is, but it's pretty close probably. Or who wants to do the closing reel?
I'll just, it's become
kinda your thing.
It's
It's
kind
kinda
of
your thing.
just become what I do. Guys, Crazy to think that we've gotten multiple Victory Mondays this late in the season. So thank you all again so much for listening. We hope to have 2 more. We're hoping to come back on next
minimum.
Monday. We'll have a recap no matter what the score is, no matter what happens.
1 more.
We will be back here next Monday, dropping on Tuesday for you to recap the first AFC Championship game of the 2000s for the Buffalo Bills against the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll have some more Sabres hockey to talk about. Were we too reactionary to one good Sabres game, or maybe, just maybe, maybe there's enough talent on this team tonight. Maybe there's enough talent on the Sabres team to make a push to the playoffs. We'll have maybe a little bit of a better idea next week, and maybe it'll be a couple more weeks after that before we really have a clue, but it's not going to stop us from talking about it. Shout out to our sponsor, Manscaped.com. Use our code 716SPORTS for 20% off at checkout and free shipping. You can go back to the beginning of the podcast, listen to some testimonials, and I think at this point, all of us have used something to a positive effect. We endorse the product. We would never use a sponsor that we wouldn't endorse the products for, which is partially why we don't have any sponsors, because we hate pretty much fucking everything. But we actually do endorse this. So, use that code. Get yourself some stuff. Check it out. This podcast and all of our other podcasts available on Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, our website, 716sportspodcast.com. And as always, you can interact with us on Facebook at 716 Sports Podcast, on Twitter at 716 Sport Podcast. We'll talk to you next week. Party responsibly, Bills Mafia. Live it up. Enjoy the week. We'll talk to you again in a week's time. Have a good night.
Go Bills.
716 Sports Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped. Manscaped has a third-generation product, the Lawnmower 3.0, with precision-crafted ceramic blades to prevent nicks while shaving. The battery lasts 90 minutes, so you don't have to worry about running out of juice mid-shave. The waterproof lawnmower is the best available grooming product for men. Head to manscaped.com and use code 716SPORTS for 20% off your order, and you'll get free shipping. Again, that code is 716SPORTS on manscaped.com for free shipping and 20% off your order.